Oh, right. Chat once again, very active. Let's change the potato cam. Let's change it to who haven't I used? I mean, I know I always say who haven't I used for ages, but who I have genuinely not used for ages. I don't think I've touched this one for a long time. I know you guys are going to be... Wait, is that the Prophecies one? Oh my god, that is actually crazy. I don't actually remember a stream where we've used this for a long time. That's really crazy to see. That must be batch 2. No, that's batch 2. Okay, that's fine. Basically, I did 2 different big batches of potatoes over the years. And I thought I'd just picked one from batch 1, but this potato in this image you can see is leaning against the Prophecies Collector's Edition case. So I have a very recent memory in my mind. It feels extremely recent. And that is when I was doing the unboxing videos and I did the Nightfall one. And then I recorded a Factions one twice in one day, hated them both, then like 3 times over the next week and hated them all, and then just decided, oh, I'll come back to it later. But when I was doing those unboxings, I started doing those because I had just got in the mail the Prophecies Collector's Edition. I still own it. I own a physical edition of the Collector's Edition of Guild Wars 1 Prophecies that I have never opened. Literally, the box is over there. I've never opened it because the idea was for the unboxing series to do the Nightfall unboxing, then the Factions unboxing, and then the Prophecies one, and look at it blind, essentially, and geek out with you guys. That would be really cool, right? And it was a good video, and people liked it. I just never really got the style or the feeling. What you have to understand is what actually happened was I moved. I had a really janky setup where I was like using a wobbly ironing board and all this stuff to try and do it, and I moved and I couldn't really replicate that style of thing again. So I still do want to go back to it. One day I hope I will. But yeah, that all feels really, really recent to me. So then the thought that had all happened before even I did the potato cams was kind of absurd and sort of blew my mind for a second. But this is batch 2, so that makes sense. There were all these other things as well. There's a thread on Guild Wars 1 subreddit at the moment talking about the Prima official guides. So they did a Prima guide for Prophecies, then they did one for Factions, but they cancelled their Nightfall one. And I wonder why they cancelled their Nightfall one. Was it because Nightfall sales were very low and predicted to be low? Was it because Nightfall came out a meager 6 goddamn months after Factions, so they had no time to develop all that? And, you know, the way that the wind was blowing was that Guild Wars was going to continue pushing out at that rate, so they decided to nip it in the bud early. I don't really know, but they cancelled the Nightfall one, so there was never an official Nightfall Prima guide for the game. And there's a thread talking about that. And everyone's talking about the old guides. There's a few pictures some people have got. I own those guides as well. About a year and a half, 2 years ago, I went on a bit of a binge on eBay looking for really old, just assets. And assets is a weird way of putting it. It's not very Ferengi there. What's the actual term? You know, just shit, basically. Tats to do with Guild Wars. Merch. And I was picking some stuff up, and I've got those as well, and they are really fascinating. I wanted to do some guides on those, or unboxings, reading the guides and showing off the old screenshots and what weird insights and things we might get from it, because I think all that stuff's really, truly fascinating. Could be, if I was good at it, pretty easy content. But I haven't. So anyway, there you go. There you go. Yeah, acquisitions. I don't know why that came up. But you could definitely check out that thread on the subreddit if you're interested in that stuff. I really hope someone asked them about that kind of stuff on the AFC. I did actually get a very, very, very cool thing around the Path of Fire release, which maybe I will show off at some point, at some time. Anyway, back at chat. So yeah, we're like 5 minutes late. The reason we're late, just to show you all, is here's my LP character, Cariflower. Oh, the camera is totally busted there. This is our LP character, Cariflower. I've just looked here. We've got the friggin' Ecto lottery thing going on there. When was the last lottery we ran? I might just remove that. I'll have to talk to Flag at some point. But yeah, we got this, and then here I have Cariflowerer. So I basically just, because it's annoying me. If you watched yesterday's LP video, you would have seen that I skipped a cutscene. So I've basically played through the first 20 levels of the game again. to get the cutscene back, and that's what I was doing right before the stream, just to film a quick cutscene with Traherne, which will now get edited into today's video, and it will be like there was never a mistake. So that's why we're a little bit late here, just because of that. So anyway, I hope you can excuse that half expansion mic with your baby rage. Mad Mind says, do I still have fish? How are they doing? They're doing very well. Actually, I tell a lie. I was cleaning the tank out the other day, and one of my neon tetras got pop eye. So I didn't know this was a thing, but it's like you get these beautiful little... hopefully you guys know what tetras are. They're little fish, very glowy, like nice fish, especially neon tetras. I've kept them for years now. And one of the eyes is just like popped out. It's like a really... it's like a full eye is underneath its eye, but it's really, really freaking weird to look at. I don't know how upsetting or horrible it feels to have that. Apparently, it's like if there's too much salt in the water, or it can be disease, or it can be a few things. There's a few different chemicals that can fix it. But yeah, it happened after I cleaned the tank, so I don't know exactly what that was unless I kicked up a lot of salt from the gravel underneath or whatever. But yeah, its eye looks horrible. I'm just hoping the swelling will go down at some point, but it is really kind of gross, and I hope it's not in pain. I was reading this article about like pain in animals, and the idea that, you know, if you've got something very simple like a tetra with a tiny little brain, or, you know, a very small insect, that they might not even have the cognitive capacity to understand that pain is an emotion they can feel, or a sensation they can feel, or that pain can exist. So they might feel pain, but if they don't even know that pain is a thing, is it unethical to torture a fly? Do you get what I mean? Like this kind of weird... So when that happened to the fish, I was like, oh god, does it know it's got Popeye? Is it in pain? Does it know what pain is? Does it realize it's in discomfort, if at all? It's acting perfectly normal and swimming around. Is it blind in that eye now? I don't know. So I found myself wondering about that, but I hope to fix it, because I feel like it would be cruel to leave it. Yeah, you're making out just until I get here, and that's what's happening. You had... So, I read this already. You had a nightmare that WP revealed his face, and you instantly fell in love. You left your family and moved to the UK. That's quite stalkery. I will just say, that is pretty scary, because, you know, that might not be reciprocated. I am currently spoken for, so I'm not sure how hard it would be to let you down on that. But I am wondering what I look like in your dream. Benji says, how long did you stay on for the host you did yesterday? It was really enjoyable watching a new player. Yeah, he's not the first one, obviously, that we've... I mean, you must know this at this point, right? You've seen a few... I really like hosting totally new people. I do. If they just need to be just entertaining or just interesting enough. A lot of people think streaming is just play a video game. They really have no capacity for being entertaining at the same time. That sounds extremely smug and critical of me to say. But it means that some of the hosts are a bit limp. But this guy was awesome. He was interacting with chat a lot, and I love it when they get that right mix and they use a totally new player. I watched it for a while, maybe half an hour. I had it on the background, and then eventually I swapped it out for 8 out of 10 cats, I think. I was watching after that. But yeah, it was really enjoyable. He said he was going to buy the expansions afterwards. 30% off, guys. Remember, Bless Online at Refugees, 30% off. There's a link under the stream right now. If you click it, you can get both expansions 30% off. He kept getting distracted. He even jumped into unranked PvP. He hadn't set a build, and he won the game anyway. It was the funniest thing I've seen in ages. That's hilarious. That's cool. I'm glad that he's got the balls to go into unranked PvP. I hope he figures out what's fun about it. I look like Neville Longbottom from the Harry Potter movies, the elder version, of course. Wow. You know, that's kind of a funny comparison, actually. He's, like, hot now, though, isn't he? He's, like, genuinely hot. I'm glad you're saying the older version. You saw me with glasses. That's interesting. Matthew Lewis is his name, right? Yeah, the early birds are here already. Watch YouTube Let's Play. Last Monday's stream. Yesterday's stream. The hosted stream. Then he uploaded another Let's Play video. Wow, you had a day full of me then, basically. Do you have too much Guild Wars 2 in your life? I think so. But it's okay. I need more people like you. Benji, if everyone was like you, and they just continued to be like you for months on end... Oh, I'd be sorted. I'd be set, man. That would be brilliant. I understand those words individually, but not strung together like that. Too much Guild Wars 2. Some serious crap, though, in World vs. World. Okay, scrolling down. Okay, now we're at the point where I went live. Bye, doggo. You didn't expect your message would be that long. Which message? What message was really long? Oh, I just heard the overlay go off as well. Let me actually turn that on. So yeah, hello everybody. Season 2 potatoes. Season 1 can only be in a short cutscene. So on the Let's Play, we're now reading stories. I've taken the plunge and I've started doing the short stories, so I can talk to you about Cadian and I can teach you these things. So today I spent about an hour and a half going through every single source I can remember and compilation and list from the developers, and the wiki's been an amazing resource once I finally found my way to the correct wiki page, of the old blog posts they did pre-release that set the scene for the world and gave us short stories. So like the short story that talked about Mr. Sparkles, the short story that talked about Commander Serentine and the way that the Seraph, the Ministry Guard, and the Order of Whispers work together. The short story about the Norn. Basically, every race has one. Norn has one, Silvari has one, human, and so on. And then there were some others as well. There were articles about the Coden, and there was an article about the Crate, and there's like not necessarily short stories embedded in those ones, but there's interesting quotes and snippets and things. And I basically spent an hour and a half compiling all of the ones that I thought would be good and the moments in the LP that I should put them in. And I'm kicking myself because if I decided to do this at the start of the series, you would have heard about Commander Serentine and stuff, and Anise and Logan and all of that, while Casey was still alive and we were in the Divinity's Reach stuff. Now, a lot of the other characters, it's fine. When we return to Tyrix, I can... Am I saying his name right? It is Tyrix in the series, right? No, it's not Tyrix. Yeah, it's Tyrix. It's Etius I was messing up. When we return to Tyrix, we can actually show... you know, the stuff to do with the charm, whatever. But with Casey, it's a little bit more, well, a lot more complicated, actually. But the reason I'm telling you this is because you just mentioned Season 1, and it is kind of amazing. You know, Dreamy Abaddon, I give a massive props and praise. Dreamy Abaddon did so good. Went across all of YouTube, compiled all this different information about Season 1, and made that movie, like a 3-hour movie showing off Season 1. You can watch it. It's great. And they did good, but it was actually phenomenal looking through all this because there were a lot of extra game things. I mean, we often think about a few of them, but... You know, there were random blog posts just giving odds and ends information about Lion's Arch when it was under attack, and the appearance of the Aether Blades, and just before South Sun came out, Scott McGough did a thing about Welcome to Paradise. There's just so many supplementary things that you... So if Season 1 existed, I could do a fucking killer Let's Play. If you guys have seen my Grimrock, do you remember how I spliced in on Grimrock 2 all the lore from the manuals at the correct times in the series? You could do that so well for Season 1, but the goddamn thing doesn't exist. So I credit Dreamy Abaddon very heavily, but even Dreamy Abaddon doesn't have all of that extra stuff as far as I'm aware. Not that I remember they have anyway. They just have the cutscenes. Someone else messaged me on YouTube as well, a weird bit of trivia here. Someone said, hey, I'm a German Guild Wars 2 YouTuber. And they raised something to me. They said, hey, can I have your permission? You've got basically all the relevant footage for Season 1 in your videos. Can I take it? Can I have your footage so that I can do a commented story analysis thing, blah, 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 presentation of Season 1 in German? And I said, oh, yeah, sure, you can go for that. That's not a problem. But it made me realize something. You know, we as English speakers have got a very jankily cut together odds and ends jigsaw puzzle piece of shit, really, that is an incredible effort and work, the Dreamy Abaddon movie. We get that as English speakers, but can you imagine being a Spanish Guild Wars 2 fan and wanting all the Season 1 story in Spanish with all the Spanish voice acting? Or German? It's just not there. There's none of it's around, and it's so crazy. I mean, it is wild to think, and I cannot believe that when Season 1 was coming out, because it doesn't feel that long ago to me. It really doesn't. It feels so recent to me. I cannot believe that I didn't just take the time to do a comprehensive A, B, C, D. I mean, I can forgive myself by leaning on ignorance, and I can say, well, look, how could I have known when we were fixing signposts that there would be need for this? How could I have known that for years and years in the future that none of this would come back? But I kind of did know. Eventually, it was pretty clear that the point of Living World was it was temporary content. It's obscene. It's crazy. And I didn't do it for the English-speaking communities. No one else did it for the English-speaking communities. And no one did it for German. No one did it for Spanish. Or French. French is a language in Guild Wars as well, right? So it's just like... I wonder if that's a sign as to the size of the Guild Wars 2 community during Living World Season 1 and just how few players were really getting it and what it was trying to be, you know? Because I couldn't imagine that for any other game. There would be someone doing it a good job. Until, you know, years later, poor people like Dreamy Abaddon have to come along and just stitch together a ton of random shite. And Dreamy Abaddon had to take a massive risk with their production as well. Because what they did was they took stuff from the high and mighty great Wooden Potatoes, from the awesome Matt Visual, from, you know, all these different people, and didn't say anything to us. Just took our content and just stitched it together, and they leapt first, asked questions later. Better to ask forgiveness than permission. Can you imagine? And that's a big risk to do that, you know? Because there's so many different people. Any of us, I could have been like, no, fuck you. You're not allowed any of my content. Take it down. Take the entire movie down. You're not hosting that with my thing. And not only then do they have to redo the whole thing, but they also lose a crucial chink in the chain, you know? But they did it. Can you imagine if they'd let the permission thing stop themselves? If they'd actually gone to every single one of these content creators, many of whom weren't even around anymore, and asked for permission? And there's the chance that one of... It's not even that I might have said no. It's that people like me might have said, oh, can you give me more details about it? Or, you know, what if I hated someone else on the scene and I refused to have my content alongside theirs? No, I'm not going to appear in a thing with Matt. I'm not going to appear in Raw's in that. No, I'm not going to do that. You know, there could be any of that stuff going on. So Abaddon had to take that risk. They took it, and it turns out everyone was really chill and cool. Because Guild Wars 2 is the friendliest community of them all. But still, anyway. Season 1. Bring it back, ArenaNet. Do it. Do it now. I don't want another expansion. Season 1. Go. Side note, did you realize the guy you hosted yesterday had Spudders as account name? No, I didn't. That's just a happy coincidence. He had no money to fix his teeth as he spent it all on the Prophecies Collector's Edition. I do believe it was quite expensive. I'd like it. The box I've got is pretty shitty and tatty. It's not very good. Oh, I had an amazing comment as well. Oh, Wooden Potato Suit. This was a person on Wooden Potato Suit. Listen, guys, listen. I'm going to show my streamer privilege here, okay? But I had... So, listen. There's lots of different ways people try to contact me. In general, I'm terrible for getting in touch with on the internet because there's too many messages from too many places. Now... One of the rarest places I ever look is my alternate channel. I'll check comments on my alternate channel, but PMs to Wooden Potatoes 2, I like never look at. Why would I, you know, the alternate, so I very, very rarely do. Usually it's just spam and people looking for brand deals and blah, blah, blah. But TJ Moss, I might have mentioned this already, a month ago said, hey, WP. I missed it. I only responded to them recently. They said, I was watching your stream after it was uploaded to YouTube. This must be some ancient-ass stream now. And I heard you talking about wanting the Chinese collector's edition of the game. Well, I'm American, but I live in China. If you wanted it, I could try looking it for you. If someone already has found it or contacted you, then no worries. I just thought I'd offer. No one's offered, TJ Moss. You're the only one. TJ Moss, if you're still in China, man, I will pay for that. I really want that Chinese mug. I want it. And I can add that to the unboxing series that may or may never come. Come on! How cool would that be? So yeah, streamer privilege, but so far it's not looking very good because TJ Moss hasn't responded again. I think I missed my chance. That's what I'm trying to show. Streamer privilege, but because I'm so inattentive, I missed my chance. Okay, scrolling down. Hello, everybody. Acquisitions indeed. We should just rename the stream Acquisitions. Oh god, I'm pretty far away. Please make a Path of Fire gold guide. I know you don't do them, but I do. I know you don't like them, but I do. No, I like them. They're alright, but people are very weird about gold guides. There's like a selection of other content creators who do it already, and I feel like they'd be a bit upset to see me doing it. There's people who hoard their gold method. You know, if I dump 20,000 people into a method of gold acquisition, I will break the economy. We've seen it happen before. Hashtag humblebrag. But that kind of is a thing, and people get kind of mad at that. Also, the video loses its validity. So I have to do very particular little sort of anodyne things as farms, which you probably already know about. And unless I'm doing it, the main reason I don't do it, I would actually say above all these others, unless I'm actually finding myself doing that farm for gold, I probably won't have any passion for it and won't do the video. And I don't really farm for gold. I'll tell you why I don't farm for gold. Because there's this thing in the game called PvP. And PvP gives you ridiculous cash. Sweet, sweet cash. Cold hard cash straight in your pocket. You want to farm for Path to Fire? Play PvP. Play rank PvP. Get good at rank PvP. Get your extra platinum pip. And, yeah, like this 111 gold I have purely from PvP over this last week alone on Fresh Air, which I've just come back to. That's it. So, and I'm, by the way, dominating on Fresh Air. It's actually, it stings because it's really bad compared to what it used to be. And there's a lot of horrible situations. I'm still getting to grips just what pressure I have. Like I had a game with Valen the other day where he was offering me like power thief assistance, and I was thinking maybe we can burst down a warrior, but it still took us fucking ages because there's just no damage on this build anymore. But you can still, if you're very, very patient and you use a lot of the super speed, you can still do okay. So I don't know. Anyway, I've been having fun, but you get a lot of money. Just play PvP. I will always recommend PvP to people because it helps the matchmaker too, and it's really fun at the same time. Anyway, you've heard that a million times on a million streams recently. I'm not going to go on about it again. You have BDO refugees as well. Well, BDO is a very different game. I think the only similar thing is business model, except BDO then also went pay to win cash grab, while Guild Wars 2 didn't. Guild Wars 2 does not get enough credit for not actually cash grabbing. If you ever see any controversy about the gem store, it's genuine, like, such petty whining compared to what other MMOs do. But yeah. Yeah, Neville is hot now. Okay, NA did the guild missions. Now the Tavern upgrade's ready. All right, let's do that then. Let's go do the Tavern. You played a nice game and you thought it'd be fun to see Pillars of Eternity. I get recommended Pillars of Eternity a lot, especially when people realize I'm a fan of the more contemporary Divinity installments. Original Sin 2. So, yeah, I've had this conversation quite a few times. Maybe when I find time to play it. Right now, I'm enjoying some very casual platforming in the way of Crash Bandicoot, though. And Stellaris is kind of my mainstay. I'm actually, you know how I'm not really an RPer? If there's any game that's encouraging me to be a role player, it's Stellaris. Like, if I ever made a Stellaris Let's Play, it would be a role play hybrid series. Where between every episode, I, like, create a head canon of what's going on with my empire. Write, like, a 3 or 4 paragraph short story about it. And then we read it out at the start of each episode. I would do shit like that. That would be so cool. Because that game is just so fun to, like, invent your own story as it's going along in tandem with the game, because it gives you these little nuggets of world building that you can just go mental with your imagination. It's so fun. But yeah, I've heard Pillars has been recommended many times. You need to give Traherne justice. He didn't steal anyone's glory, neither did Cormier. Yeah, I mean, people will come out of the Let's Play understanding Traherne properly. They will. In fact, that kind of jerk off about how much Traherne sucks has worn away a lot over the recent years, I would say. You see more people saying they like Traherne than they didn't at this point. The way I've done the LP, just through ordering, there is no way people will hate Traherne. Because what we've done is we've very deliberately shown that he comes out of nowhere at Claw Island, and now we go back and show his backstory properly, and he's got the most natural inclusion to the plot that you will ever get. I think people will like him as a main character, and they'll feel sad at the end of Heart of Thorns and stuff, without a doubt. Right, it was Marketplace, correct? If I remember rightly.
I love meeting new people.
I do too. Well, actually, I don't. I'm a bit of an introvert, but there you go. All right, what we got? PvP rewards. That's not good. That's not good. This is good. Ooh, Tavern Restoration 2. This is going to be a cutscene one, guys, so buckle up. This is going to be a good one. Elderwood planks, Mithril ingots, Elonian wine, empty kegs, glass mugs, 80 obsidian shards, 100 bolts of silk, 400 cured leather square sections, 60 bolts of gossamer, 200 cured hardened leather squares. NA, you've been hard at work and you're going to spend all of our Ethereum on this. A ton of favor. This is going to be good, guys. The Tavern Restoration number 2. I will let the cutscene play instead of skipping it. I hate this though. You know, in the Heart of Thorns review, I said that they shouldn't have done cutscenes, and they should have just had the animation playing and have it over like 10 minutes so everyone can actually watch and experience in the game. I wish they'd done that. Anyway, here we go. Oh, what? Yeah, there we go. Like, imagine if this wasn't cutscene. Imagine if we were just standing around as all this mist came around and everything. How cool would that be? And you actually watch it build. Hell, they could have done it over a 24-hour period. That would have been hype. To watch it build over 24 hours. That's cool. I've never seen this before.
This new tavern is a sight to see. I'll admit, I wasn't sure we'd get it repaired properly. But look at it now. Why, anyone would be proud to have a drink and share a story here. You've done well getting this place put together. You think it's nice now? Wait till I start serving my famous rabbit stew.
Oh, that's great. The only thing missing is the Zerg of 50 people as we build them up, but there you have it. Beauty. This is actually a huge building. This is a much better tavern upgrade than the other guild halls from Heart of Thorns gave you, I think. Awesome. Really cool. I loved it. I really want to take a second to stop and appreciate this, because it would have been so easy for the Path of Fire devs to ignore this, to not assign people to make this, to just leave it. And they took the time. So, I mean, the way that everything they did infrastructure-wise means they get almost no value out of their development efforts doing this. So, the fact it's here is just, you know, it's great. I'm really happy with it. Also, this is really fun to climb around on the Springer, I'm now realizing. I want to get onto the... You guys can tell what I want to do, right? I want to get onto the upper lip. I guess if these have collision, they do. We can do it this way. Oh, what? This is awesome. Look, you can get up here. This is really badass. Can you get on the chandeliers as well? I would guess that you can. Hey, nice. Do you think... I can't quite tell. Oh, yeah, no, it is all proper. It's all got proper collision. That's awesome. Damn. This is like bigger than the ones you find in the regular game. This is so cool. Right. Chat. Oh, my God. Okay, I have to go fast. You need to say a prayer for the victims of Bless Online. Dear Dwayna, guide these poor MMO players through the mists to the superior MMO experience. Ravaged by elder dragons, though it may be. Tyria will be the home for all your troubles. Welcome, welcome. Okay. Can you link me the correct pages? I've been looking for those as well, on and off again. What pages is that? Are you talking about... you're going way back to when I was talking about Season 1, I guess, right? And the wiki? I can link that, because I saved it for myself. Basically, you're going to have to dig through it a bit, but the one that's most conclusive on ArenaNet's... Oh, sorry, on the wiki... Because here's the amazing thing. Though the lore that came from those blog posts, all right, is not even hosted anymore. The devs pulled their own blog post down. So you need to go to, like, the Wayback Machine in the Internet Archive to get them, or the wiki's rehosting of this stuff. That's how, like, buried this stuff is, which is a disgrace. It's a disgrace. They need to be in game somewhere, because, come on, it's some... Like, that article about the crate. Read the... If you've never read about the crate, guys, that link, go to it. Read about the crate. It is the coolest thing about them as a race. You honestly will come out feeling so, like, hyped by them. It's so good. And, like, it's not anywhere. You know, a 2018 Bless refugee is not going to find that stuff. All right, Eladis is my favorite character in the LP, mostly just because of the name. Hey, Georges. Oh, you've sent me a message on Discord as well, haven't you? F word. I will get to responding to that soon enough. Just wondering what happened with the audiobook. I've answered that on every stream, but basically there was no artwork for it and it got no viewership, so every time a Monday's come around, I've been behind on something else, so I've ended up working on other things instead of the audiobook. It basically takes 2 afternoons a week to do the audiobook, and it's just a weird thing of prioritization. It's not cancelled though, and it will return. So yeah, there you go. Scrolling. Costage says, yeah, Dreamy Abaddon's video does miss some stuff relating to Bram's relationship with Attila, among other things. He did a Herculean effort. Yeah, he did. That compilation is Herculean. That's a great word. But it still misses stuff, you know. Because there's just so much ancillary things. You're actually surprised there's not more around in German. There's a lot of German players who have a lot of footage from old stuff, but I guess nobody really thought of that far for Season 1. Yeah, I mean, the English audience didn't, and that was larger, I guess. The German community, what you guys might not realize is the German community, as far as Guild Wars is concerned, is big and very dedicated, because the roots from Guild Wars 1 are huge. Like, the German player base for Guild Wars 1 was enormous, and a lot of those will have transitioned even here a decade later. Okay, this is why preservationists and archivists is important, even things we don't think is... Yeah, I mean, I really do have a lot of respect for that. You can find some people in the internet that are doing interesting things for, like, archiving stuff within video games, because a lot gets lost. It's kind of like what I was saying with Azaric, you know, and all those amazing anecdotes and things that SCW has. The Azaric soundtrack, for example, guys, There is no one, as far as SCW knows, and he was like the main guy for that game, that it just doesn't exist. That's a Jeremy Soule fully featured big ass orchestral soundtrack, okay? It sounds like a blend of Elder Scrolls and Star Wars, okay? It's a brilliant soundtrack. It's Jeremy Soule. If you love Jeremy Soule and any other franchise, you'll love what he did for Azric. It's a phenomenal soundtrack, and yet there is no public space and no like original space with the original WAVs or whatever. It's just nowhere. It's gone. It's gone because stuff is on hard drives and it just gets removed. You think that stuff is just permanently in the cloud, but it's not. A lot of shit that goes up on the internet does get forgotten very quickly, very easily, and it's fascinating to think of the things that are lost. Same with like the Guild Wars 2 convention demos with the energy potions and stuff. I have asked and tried so many times, but the only answers I've ever had from devs is, well, it's probably gone. We don't have an archive of the servers and the data and the clients and things from back then. It's gone, you know. What you saw being played and showed at Gamescom and whatnot all those years ago, it's gone. And it was such a fascinating, interesting version of Guild Wars 2. Oh, God, we're talking about unboxings and stuff. Jesus, I must be scrolled pretty far back right now. You're too salty for PvP? Then turn off chat and appear offline. Oh, yeah, I've been playing Stardew as well. I forgot. I've been playing Stardew. There's another game. Rav says I do that as well in Solaris. I'm glad, dude. That's cool. WP, I don't know if you're 10 minutes behind, but you haven't said hello to me, and I'm going to probably go and cry in a corner. I thought we had something. I'm 10 minutes behind. There you go. We got something, man. Have I tried Ender Space 2? No, I don't have that much time to dedicate to 4X, but yeah, I've heard that was very good. It's kind of funny in a sad way that even a few ArenaNet developers seem to believe that Traherne stole the player's glory. It was kind of disheartening to see that in the lore AMA. When was that in the lore AMA? I mean, I've said this a million times. It's obviously not on paper what they were going for Traherne, so let's not believe it. The way that the game mechanics blur the lines can be disregarded. There's just so much wrong with the personal story. You know, even just playing these couple of Sylvari acts, like I was just playing through, as I mentioned, here, let's get you some actual footage, on Cara Flowerer, this character. I replayed Act 1 again for the Sylvari, and you know, there's so many tiny, dumb little issues with the personal story. So chapter 1 for the Sylvari has a big defense mission against the undead if you pick a certain choice. Chapter 2 also has a big defense mission against the undead. You're going to see it in today's Let's Play episode. But the chapter 2 one, where you should be fighting more difficult Risen, more varieties of Risen, higher numbers of them, it should be more stressful mechanically. The chapter 2 defense against the Risen on the beaches with Karis, that ends with a big boss. And what it is a veteran Risen brute. You know, just a standard Risen brute. He's got a hammer. He's a veteran. So he's extremely easy to beat. That's the chapter 2 one. Lots of waves of undead. You defend against the waves of undead. It ends with a climactic battle against a boss that happens to be a veteran Risen brute. In chapter 1, earlier in the story, there also happens to be a Sylvari instance where you're defending from Risen, and you plant seed plants to defend yourself. That's when you're doing it with Gerwin. The Gerwin one has many waves of undead, but in the chapter 1 one, the final boss that comes is an abomination. So like, just every single, and you might just wonder, well, how, that's so stupid. Like, shouldn't the abomination be at the more intense, higher end of the story as it goes further? It's just so bad. Not to mention that later when you get to Ore, they act like you've never seen abomination ever before. Just at every single level. I was also replaying on Cara Flowerer where you get Occam's hammer to break through Occam's armor. If you look at the tooltips on it, one of them says that it applies cripple, and it doesn't apply cripple. And one of them says it does something else, and it's so bad. It's clearly like just thrown in at the last minute. Like, no one would actually, what I'm getting at here, this is not a regular Corteria rant. What I'm getting at is the core story is so bad and so ill-concocted and so messy. I was also fighting a member of the Nightmare Court who buffed themselves with a rage mechanic. I moused over what that rage mechanic was, and it said that they had the rage of the Grawl. The Grawl! The Nightmare Court had the rage of the Grawl. That's not in lore. That's not anything to do with the story. That's not intentional. That's just shoddy game design and throwing shit around to put effects on, and they don't know how it manifests. It's just bad. It's just got no QA. It's just not been worked on. And what I'm saying is it's so bad. The developers wouldn't actually defend that. I'm sure they wouldn't. No one would actually see stuff like that and the actual work that was done in 2012 and genuinely defend it. They wouldn't. Because it's shit. Everyone knows it's shit. There's nothing good. And the only reason it gets by is because other aspects of the game prop it up. And because of extremely low standards on the part of the MMO scene. Alright? That's the only thing. So, like, when that starts to blur the lines with how we view characters like Traherne and stuff, I find it personally myself so easy to disregard all of that shit. And no, obviously Traherne doesn't steal our glory. What's on paper, the actual broad thing that they did with the game, is phenomenal and fantastic. And Traherne is not a story about him stealing your glory, just as Cormyr wasn't. Traherne's story is about a scholar turning into a general. That's it. And this tragic twist of his incompletable wild hunt. Which we now know, after Heart of Thorns, he never even lives to see, which is extremely sad. Not in its full fruits. But yeah, I don't know how I ended up ranting about that, but I'll blame Cossage. He prompted the whole thing. Your LP got me inspired to play the story stuff again. It's really good to look at it with fresh eyes. I'm glad. Yeah, look, I'm being slow catching up, but I just want to give people full responses. How to get my attention. It's basically impossible to get my attention right now because I'm not scrolled down. While I do not believe he sucked, I think the way they killed him off doesn't scream fan service. Everyone always jokes off his death and said, oh, they did that because everyone hates Traherne. But did they really? I think to an extent they might have. But also, there's a lot of reasons why we don't live in a world where only things happen for a single reason. I think that will have been a reason floating around, an added motivator. But I think there are also a lot of other compelling reasons. And it's just, if I was going to do an expansion about the Sylvari, and the way that they did it, I think killing off the first of the Firstborn just makes sense, you know? Killing off a character that we're close to, it just makes sense. Doing it in a climactic way at the end of the game, it just makes sense. I think that there's a lot of reasons why killing off Traherne was a good move. And the community's response and understanding of him might have just been a cherry on top. Yeah, I will either eventually catch up to chat, or we will just not do anything this entire stream. So it's up to you guys. Hello, Mr. Streamer. I'm new here, and I got a fondness for hand-cut fries. If you don't respond, I'm going to deep fry you and eat you. I don't even know how to interpret that. That's like such a standard Twitch comment there. You need to be intelligent about your messages, Georges, or you will get timed out. How could a stew ever become famous? A stew is just a crap thrown in a pot. So, here's the thing I've been doing. Talking about stew, we will go in game. Now, anyone who grew up in the 90s in the United Kingdom may remember being given books to read while they were at school. And you may remember a series known as the Horrible Histories. Does anyone remember Horrible Histories? So, I've been wanting to sleep a bit better at nights, right? And often I'm on my laptop late at night for the past while. But I decided I'd try something else, and that was to start reading again. But I didn't really know what I wanted to read or how heavy of anything I wanted to read. And it's just been a vague idea of mine. I'm going to proc the full counter by deliberately walking into a trap. It didn't work. That's a shame. I got feared because he flipped stab, maybe? I don't know. But I haven't really known what I wanted to read, and I haven't thought about it too deeply for a long time. So, something tipped me off the other day. I can't remember what it was. But the Horrible Histories were a thing. So, they're books for, like, 12 to 13-year-olds. So, there's, like, one called the Terrible Tudors, and there's one, like, the Smelly Saxons, and the Ancient Egyptians, all this stuff. There was a run of books that came out, originally was released from, like, the first one was 93, and the later ones were, like, 99 or something. And we had to read those at school. They were, you know, they were handed out at school, and if you know, they were like Key Stage 3 or something. I can't even remember, but Key Stages. Who remembers those? So, I, as an adult in my mid-20s, got hyped and nostalgic about them, and I bought a box set, £15, of all the horrible histories. And they're ordered in the timeline. So now what I do at night is, using just the light of my laptop with flux on, so it's just an orange light, no blue light, I read a book in the absolute darkness, but with a single orange lit up book, and I'm reading the Horrible Histories at night before I go to sleep, and it's amazing. So I'm currently at the start. I'm reading about the cavemen, and I'm reading about Australopithecus, and I'm learning about the various hominids that have existed. How the Neanderthals got wiped out, how lots of other varieties of hominids left Africa and came to Europe but also went extinct, and early practices of cavemen. Now, what I learned last night was I was learning about how they cooked and things. And the book was actually really cool because I'm genuinely interested in learning things from a book aimed at 12-year-olds. Seriously, this is my life right now. And I'm now teaching you guys, okay? So here's a really awesome thing. Just think about this, right, guys? You don't have metal, okay? Any form of metal. How do you make a stew? You vaguely know fire. You can gather stones, straw, rocks, branches and stuff. How do you make a stew? Seriously, stop and think about that while you're watching my stream right now. How do you get boiling water? Like, what? Because the fire, you can't put water in the fire. You don't have a good metallic thing to boil in a pot. You don't, like... And if you actually really stop and think about it, genuinely just pick yourself in the woods, how would you do that? I had no idea. And I was like, the book proposed this question. It said, if you can't figure it out, you might think that cavemen are stupid. But if you can't figure it out, you probably would have perished. So how did they do it? And it went into it. It taught how they used to make stews and things. Basically, what they do is they'd wrap meat in straw. Okay, they'd get like a basin. They'd move stones together to make a basin and fill it with water. They'd light a fire, and what you'd do is you'd put rocks in the fire, stones in the fire, leave them there for ages so that they got really hot, like red hot. Then you take the stone out of the fire with like a branch or something, and you put the stone in the basin of cold water. And the stone sizzles, obviously, and a little bit of the water evaporates. But you keep doing that over and over and over again until you have a basin of boiling water. And then with the basin of boiling water, and you've got to keep putting the stones in, you can submerge the meat wrapped in straw into the basin, and the straw protects it from like getting ashy, and then you can basically boil meats and things, and like that's how essentially. And they would do this for like, and they do it for like ancient creatures and things. We're talking about practice. It's very, very, very cool. Anyway, so yeah, I'm reading horrible histories, guys, and you might get interesting anecdotes through the ages over the next series of streams, teaching you things you probably should have learned when you were 12 years old. I also learned some new terms which I've known about but never like committed to memory. So coprolite, okay? Coprolite is basically a term for fossilized poo. And so I learned how people can analyze coprolite to figure out what kind of like diets people ate, but also what kind of parasites and things used to exist. Yeah, I don't know. All right, I'm done with that. I'm done now. There you go. I'm all out. I can't remember anything else. Besides, you're here for Guild Wars 2 lore, not real life lore. There you go. See, you mentioned stew, and you get a whole world of lovely information. All right, let's climb back up here. We are actually gonna do the story in a second. I'm gonna genuinely scroll. There's too many messages, guys. I'm actually really sorry. I'm gonna have to scroll. If anyone desperately has a comment that they really want me to read, post it again. But, yeah. It's too many messages. I'm afraid we're at that point. I have to say, it's about the subject, but I have to say this. You hosting newbie streamers and players don't help growing the community. For example, your last host yesterday with over 800 viewers, and in the first 30 seconds of the host, it got down to 200 and then 100. So please host the stream with the most viewers to grow the average views of our main streamers. Thanks. I don't believe in what you're saying, basically, at all. I think if people are looking for the Guild Wars 2 as a section on Twitch in general, they'll just go to the large streamers anyway. I'll be getting viewers right now from just regular general Twitch, not because I'm any good, but because I'm at the top of the stream. That's always been that case. No, I believe more in creating more people who have fun streaming Guild Wars 2 and getting a better variety. Always you will have big number drop-off on the hosts, always. So I'm sure you're an expert, Mr. Random, on the internet, but I like the way I do things, and I will continue to do it that way. Besides, it makes people who have got no audience very happy. Basically, there's a thing with Twitch. There's a lot of people who want to be able to do what I'm doing right now. There's a ton of people, but most of them never will be able to. Why? Because we live in a cold, unforgiving, twatty world where no one's ever going to click your zero-viewed stream. Ever. So I want to be a little bit of a chance for people like that. You know, and I'm not gonna apologize for that. That's just the way I like to do it. Hello, Easy Roker. It's good to see you. I'm scrolling. Speaking of horrible histories, have you ever heard of hardcore history? It's a podcast that is fucking interesting and you'd enjoy it. Probably. There's probably a lot of podcasts I'd really like. But listen, there's Guild Wars 2 to play. There's Fresh Air LE stuff to play. I can't be listening to podcasts. Well, actually, I can be. There's 8 out of 10 cats to watch. That's the actual truth. Oh, look, we have someone who has a degree in archaeology and specialized prehistory. You probably cringed like mad listening to me there then, didn't you? Probably. Yeah. Yeah, primitive technology is very cool. Yes, you can roast meat over a spit, but MB Halo says you can roast meat over a spit, and that's very true. But roasting meat over a spit was very tricky because the meat or the integrity of the spit itself could break, and that's a huge risk. If you lose the fruits of your hunt because of that, then that's like a nightmare for you. So it was much less risky to utilize other cooking methods. Okay? So you got to think about it. I also learned about ways they hunted, like chasing stuff over cliffs or hanging around near apex predators and just picking from the meat after they were done with it, like vultures, essentially. And how they would create very primitive stone tools to scrape meat from skin and things. The more you know with WP, yeah, I know, indeed. Yeah, we'll get to the Vikings eventually. I think the next one in the series is... probably Egypt? Probably? I don't know. It's in order, though, for timeline. Will you do some sort of E3 stream featuring ArenaNet's bit of the show? Well, they announced that they don't have anything, didn't they? So, probably not. Especially for the smaller ArenaNet partners, the hosts do help. I have it right. I think it's good to host a smaller stream as it's hard to get out of the less than 5 section viewer Twitch without hosts. Yeah, exactly. And some of these people will be crap and they won't get anyone ever going back to them. But some of them will. And besides, some people break down and like cry and stuff, you know. That's cool. You know, it's not purely selfless what I'm doing. I want to feel good for making someone else feel good. If I can make someone cry from giving them a host, you know, that makes me feel like a big lad for the rest of the day. So I'm not going to get that from hosting, you know, people who are already big. They're not going to cry. I'm here to make people cry, is basically what I'm saying. So, yeah, there it is. And by the way, the truth, I have hosted big people on other occasions. In fact, today... Wait! Georgius, isn't the UGO going on? Why are you in my chat? Isn't the UGO on right now? By the way, has somebody contacted you about something special? I'm actually dying here because I'm looking at chat. I didn't realize this veteran officer would be so dangerous. When he stands up, we can full counter his next one. Now we can... Oh, wrong weapon set. Oh, it's fine. He's dead anyway. I was going to counter blow. How to get to boiling water, just go to Draconis Mons. Last year, you hosted my 24-hour charity stream after you were done streaming. It raised a ton of money. Did I? Really? I don't remember doing that. Oh, speaking of raising money. Okay, we're going to play the game now. But speaking of raising money, just want to say something. If you guys remember, Guild Wars 1 development became a thing. And the Guild Wars 1 community was like, we want to buy them cupcakes to show them. Even though this is just the work of Bill Fries and SEW, we want to get cupcakes for all of ArenaNet just to show them, please keep developing for Guild Wars 1, okay? I don't know whether it will work or whatever, but I gave it a little plug and I said, listen, it's going on if you guys want to help out. Well... that was a long time ago now, and the campaign isn't finished. There hasn't been enough money raised. So that's a bit devastating, I think, anyway. It's a bit, you know, you never want to create a fundraiser and then the money doesn't go anywhere. Now, I will be perfectly transparent about this. I have not contributed to this. Now, the reason I haven't contributed to this is, number one, I don't really feel like I have very much money to burn anyway. But two, there's like a question of the anonymity thing. So I haven't, so, you know, you can call me a scumbag for asking other people to contribute or whatever. I'm just letting you know it exists. You don't have to. But the cupcakes are currently at 1,392 euros out of 1,500 euros. So it is right next to completing. It's really close to completing. But I think most people have forgotten about it. So if you want to push it right that last little bit, and again, I've been very clear, I do not have to, I haven't contributed. So, you know, you don't have to, but it's right near the end. So if you want to feel like the big lad that pushes that to the end, it is extremely close to being done. And then the cupcakes will be done, and I don't know, maybe the Operation Bribe ArenaNet for more Guild Wars 1 content might go through it and become a thing. But so, yeah, it is there. Do I reckon a trailer in 2 days? I hope it'll be in 2 days. It's cupcakes for like 400 employees and various varieties, like, you know, gluten-free or whatever. I don't know. Some people have special dietary things. So yeah, it's a lot of money. The guy on the GoFundMe explains why he set it so high. Don't ask me. I never set it up. It seems crazy to me as well, but I'm willing to believe that cupcakes for over 400 people plus shipping and all that stuff might be a lot, and the service itself, I don't know. As another little side, usually whenever the community's done stuff like this in the past, the devs have put on their, like, Pinterest or their Twitter or their Facebook feeds, they've shown it off and they've done videos or images and things, and they've offered thanks and stuff. So you will see them get them, and you will, you know, they'll do that as a little marketing thing. That also, by the way, if anyone's lurking that writes for like one, you know, an MMO news site or something, and they're looking for news for Guild Wars, that would be a pretty easy, fluffy piece to do. Guild Wars 1 community raises over 1,500 euros for cupcakes. Like, that's a nice feel-good, easy fluff piece you can write, and they'll have pictures and stuff. So I don't know. There's benefits from it. So yeah. How about an Operation Bribe Guild Wars Arena Net for Guild Wars 2 content? I don't know what planet you live in, but there's a shit ton of Guild Wars 2 content. I don't think you need to bribe them anymore. The bribe is this bad boy, the Black Lion Trading Company. It's this. Buying this stuff. That's your bribe there. All right, okay, let's head on in. I've caught up now. I'm hungry, man. How long have we been streaming? I've actually worked up an appetite just doing this. All right, so we already did this yesterday, but we'll do it again. The story, of course, is to get back to Tarir in the egg chamber. We're going to get on the airship and...
Balthazar. Expecting someone else?
Again, I'm not going to mess with the audio.
Have your friends abandoned?
Adrenaline surging. So much power.
What do you say we take things a little more slowly this time?
Try me.
I'm just going to fight this time, basically.
Counterattack.
Never defy a god.
Have we actually been hit yet? I mean, the transition things have hit us, but has any of his actual abilities hit us? Man, Warrior is so obscene. There we got hit because we took the time to eviscerate. These full counters come up too quickly. This is actually obscene. No wonder it's so face roll in PvP. Like, it's actually nuts. Balthazar would have to attack about 4 times faster than he does to actually be able to do something to us here.
Suffer a little more loudly. Cry out, let everyone hear.
Is this the time? Sorry, I can't really read chat. Hold on, let me just kill him and get into the next bit of the story, and then I'll look at the chat again. We have just done about an hour of pure chat goodness. Not being funny, but that was a really goddamn nice
I'm ready.
counter blow.
Excellent.
Ah, I was trying to not dodge. I was trying to just zone him there.
I do enjoy these
Faster.
I enjoy it too. You're a pretty fun little boss. He feels about the difficulty of like a level 10 story boss. The thing is, I played this on other classes and really struggled. Well, not really struggled, but a lot more than this.
I'm ready. Are you?
Oh no, the CC chain.
You're proving to be quite useful.
Here we have a nice rendition of Balthazar's theme. What is it about Balthazar's theme that we have here?
Adrenaline surging.
I'm probably not kicking enough to keep peak performance up, right? I don't know. I don't raid on this, so I don't really know.
I don't want to kill you.
All right, now he's done. It's the end of the fight, I think, at 10%, isn't it?
You won't.
Did some people complain that the story of Path of Fire is hard? Yeah, but you have to understand there's a vast difference. There's a vast difference in terms of build capability and gear capability and how hard the content is. There is no flat line because the game is wildly different.
Ah, the sire. Come here to defend our champion.
Hurry, no.
And now, you die!
Yeah, if you get downed, he revives you. Do I think Path of Fire is better than Heartthorns? Absolutely. In one regard, it's not, and that's in the regard of repeatable endgame rewards and structure for its meta events. That one regard happens to be huge for how much retention of a player base the expansion has, but in every other way, it's better.
Who am I need to be somewhere else.
All right. So here we are in the domain of the lost. I mean, it's incredible. The black screen is awesome. It's a perfect length of time. The slow opening our eyes. It's very much like the Cormyr moment with the temple in the mists. It's just like so good. Like the game has never really reached this level, this bar of quality storytelling. It just hasn't. It's so good. If Path of Fire didn't just have all these little niggles in terms of the actual story they're telling and like weird messiness, it would be so phenomenal. So, by the way, if I go to my friends list here, I'm appearing offline. But if how can I see this? Hold on, no, maybe if I press G and I filter by rank because I'll be at the top, and I appear online. Oh, it says I'm in the departing. I thought it said unknown. I thought that it just said location unknown. I thought that was even another little bit of flavor they did to keep the spoilers clear. But yeah, we die in the game, guys. We actually die in Path of Fire. This was fantastic. I think in terms of... I mean, the library was really good, but I also think this section, if it's not the best bit, it's only just picked by the library. This is honestly, it made me so happy. There were some stirrings from some of the community when this came out that people didn't like it. They felt it was too dumb or whatever. But I think this is great. As a Guild Wars 1 player, all I can think is factions right now. If you watch my Guild Wars 1 lore series, where I did that like art-based, scripted sum up of the entire franchise, it currently ends in factions, and the moment that it ends is here. When the player characters die. You die in Guild Wars 1 as well, and you come back to life in Guild Wars 1. The way you come back to life in Guild Wars 1 is through the envoys, which are a very Canthan thing, though. That's not here. So we're in the underworld, guys. We died. We go to the underworld. And we've come here as a Norn, which is really fascinating. Also, if we were a Sylvari, we would be here. So Sylvari do come to, like, the human afterlife, so it would seem. But remember what the game has already established to us at the library. Because this is not our first visit to the Mist in Path of Fire. It's established to us at the library that Grenth is gone from the Mists. He's not here anymore. So what the dick does that mean? Is that good or bad? Does that leave us opportunity to return, or does that mean, or does that seal our fate? Well, the other cool thing that we say already is the user interface. No skill bar, no health bar, no dodge meter. I mean, those mechanics are still at play. You can't like triple dodge. You still have energy running. They've just disabled it. There's no minimap. This is great. This is not the first time we saw that they'd ever disabled the minimap. We actually saw they did that when Super Adventure Box came out, the first April Fools. I still think it should be an option to disable it at any time. But there's really cool UI manipulation. So we feel lost. I have an extreme respect for that. You can press M to look at the map and move around. This just area called Judgment. But I have extreme respect for removing the minimap because they want you to feel lost, and god damn it have the balls to make us feel lost. It's like that Morrowind thing, you know? When an RPG doesn't coddle you, it's so immersive and rewarding as an experience. It burns out just a lot of morons and people who don't put time into video games, but that what you get out of it at the end is amazing. So I have so much respect for them getting rid of the minimap and sticking to their guns on this. Because, yeah, people have wandered around, frustratingly so, here. And you might say that's frustrating gameplay, but it's frustrating gameplay that serves the narrative. What's that called? Luda narrative? And it's in service, so I love it. I think it's great.
My life is over. How does being you help me?
I can give you a new life. You there! Come here! Over here! We can help each other. What is your name?
And I mean...
I don't even know who I am. Or where I am. Or how I got here.
You died. It happens. Welcome to the domain of the lost. I am, of course, King Palawa Joko.
King Joko? I'm sorry. I don't know that name.
Liar! All who take breath know me. I am King Joko the Inevitable. The last primeval king. Joko the Undying. The scourge of Vadi. Joko the feared. Joko the beloved. Joko, the eternal monarch of all. How dare you claim to not know who I am?
But you're not a spirit. What are you doing here?
I was deceived by the fallen god Balthazar. I led him here to claim spirits for his army. In exchange, I was promised a share of his new recruits. But he betrayed me and stranded me here instead. Perfidy. From now on, the only god I trust is me.
You are no god. You are an abomination inflicted on the crystal desert like a wound. Like a plague.
I am a god. God King of Elona. The Crystal Desert and all their environs. Genuflect, peasant.
You have no authority here. Only the judge does. He was appointed by Gren, a true god.
Gods, dragons, nations. Soon all will grovel at the feet of Palawa Joko.
Come, gentle spirit. You must take the next steps, and I've heard enough of Joko's blasphemies.
Oh my god, there's a lot to say.
Don't stray too far. It's easy to get lost.
Is she going to keep spamming that at us? Because I got a lot to say. Okay, so first of all, yes, everyone's saying it in chat already, and I agree. It's very cool that when we finally see Joko, who's been alluded to a few times in the expansion itself, fans of the game have been knowing he was going to be a part of this. If you'd watched the trailers, you'd know he'd be a part of this. It's not about Balthazar. It's not just about Kralkatorrik. It's also about Palawa Joko. And so it's like, how does he get into the story? When does he get into the story? It's also exciting.
I'll wait here until you're ready to proceed.
It's finding that balance of like him as a villain, but also as a kind of a comedic character. That I was really looking forward to in Path of Fire, and what a great way to do it straight away. He's arrogant, he's loud, he's in your face, but at the end of the day, he's being humiliated. And I think that that just as an image is such an exciting and appetizing and wonderful way to have Palawa Joko come into Path of Fire. So it gets top marks for me on that. I think that that's so cool. There's a lot to dig into.
Don't stray too far. It's easy to get lost.
For the minutia here. So very early in the conversation. So they throw a ton. So basically, the player as well is thrust into a whole other world here. It's really interesting to tie the introduction of Palawa narratively with the same moment that we're dealing with all this other stuff. We're in the mist, you know. This is fertile ground enough. We're in the mist. We're dead. We're in the underworld. We've forgotten who we are. These are all amazing topics that this instance could dedicate itself to. And the devs go even crazier than that by having you think about all of that and come into terms with all of that and throw Palawa at you at the same time. So it feels like a totally different plot we're in now, you know? And that I really kind of like as well, because it's kind of doubling down on this idea that makes us feel like we're far away from Tyria and the struggles of Tyria and all of that. I mean, yes, we're still talking about Balthazar, but I like the way that they pile that on, you know? It's like...
Don't stray too far.
what other games and books and movies and things have I... this experience comes up a lot where they'll just suddenly have an arc or an act where your character's just really far away and just deals with a whole new can of worms and kettle of fish, and it's later that everything coalesces together again. I like that. I think that was a cool moment. They could have had Palawa... They could have separated what I'm trying to say. This moment that we die and go into the mist, Palawa could have been introduced later. You might say that they were... This this wasn't actually really a story decision that they wanted to make, but it's just that they had so few instances and game time and development time that they had to combine everything like this. Everything had to be crunched together, so they were almost forced into this, but I think it works nonetheless. So there's that. There's also this line here. Joko rattles out who he is. This is the other side of the coin when we were at the Tomb of the Primeval Kings. Tomb of the Primeval Kings, we meet the Twin Queens. They call themselves the last Primeval Kings. Or Queens, royalty, whatever. They talk about how they're deceived and that was their downfall. They say nothing else. They say they were the last. And then here we see Joko, who's just called a prisoner at this point. I am King Joko, and that we're obviously the surface of this line is just to enjoy and relish all the dumb stuff he calls himself, but actually listen to the meat of what he says. I am King Joko, the inevitable, the last primeval king. Joko the Undying, the Scourge of Vabi. I love that they leave on Scourge of Vabi. That's probably, I don't remember, but that's the kind of thing that would send shivers up my spine. Because the Scourge of Vabi, as a Guild Wars 1 Nightfall fan, is really what we know him as. But yeah, he calls himself the last primeval king. I think this is the first time we've seen him refer to himself as such. And so, yeah, he's claiming himself as the last primeval king. So the suggestion is he deceived the queens and became the last king, but they don't recognize in their undeath his authority on that matter. Joko the Feared, Joko the Beloved, Joko the Eternal Monarch of all. How dare you claim not to know him? They do something else very cool here as well, story-wise, which is that they give us Joko before then showing the culture that he's built around himself. They give us Joko before seeing how fucked up Vabi is. They give us Joko before showing us too many awakened, you know? And I think that's great. I mean, they've shown us some, but not many. You're not a spirit. One thing I don't like visually is this is a mess. We're supposed to discern that he's not a spirit, but he's undead, so we're supposed to be seeing how he's corporeal, but the bars are really jagged, and there's all of this mess here. I think visually he didn't excite me that much to see in the first place, and he doesn't again here. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just all the crazy visual effects everywhere. I get that it's supposed to show a magical barrier of some sort, but I feel like this didn't work perfectly. It's cool. Each separate layer it's cool, but I think it's just a bit busy. I don't know. Here we hear the other side of the Night of Fires stuff and what we heard about in Kesho. He says he was deceived by Balthazar. He led Balthazar here to the underworld for spirits for Balthazar's army, but then got imprisoned here. So the spirits that were then being thrown into the Exalted or whatever in the early test, the Forged, were coming from here. Balthazar's harvesting them here. So here's a whole other side of stuff to say. Let's listen to this again. This one line, one sentence. I was deceived by the fallen god Balthazar. Palawa Joko was deceived by Balthazar. The devs have written it in that he did something pretty goddamn sly and snarky, which is a bit strange, don't you guys think? Since when was Balthazar a deceiver? Let's listen to his description again. He's the god of war and fire. He's all about honor. So this again is another moment. We've been hammering this all the time, that nothing you see in Path of Fire to do with Balthazar is characteristic of Balthazar. And I know that outside of the games, the devs have tried to like hand wave it and say, oh, but war, he likes war. But it's never been satisfying. Nothing he does is characteristic of him. Now, the idea of being deceitful, well, that may have something a little bit more in common with Menzies, perhaps, his half-brother, who was known as, I'm on the wiki right now trying to find it, Menzies, the Mad, the Lord of Destruction, Shadow Army, he seeks to usurp. There's definitely a thing about Menzies being a deceiver. I can't remember what quest it is though, and I don't have it here. But anyway, this isn't characteristic of Balthazar. So again, like, you can think about that a lot. It just doesn't seem right. Like, the idea that, like, I can buy maybe that it's all just about war and anger and the love for anger, but there's this whole thing. I've learned that there is no honor in war. We heard him say it in Flashpoint, and everything we've seen since then, this is not the Balthazar we knew. There is a big part of the story that we haven't been told. And don't be duped for a second into thinking it's not coming, because it will come. Because Path of Fire doesn't work without it. It's not the kind of thing that can handwave the motivation of the villain. You know, they've gone to Balthazar as a villain here, which is great, because it's like, yay, we get a bit more nuance than the Elder Dragon stuff. But then they've given us none of the explanation for it yet. about why he's just a comical cartoon. So we're still sort of in Elder Dragon quality storytelling right now until they give us the other side. So, yeah. And Lissa's interaction and integration with all of that, I'm sure we'll see. Joko being funny. I like his vocabulary here. Perfidy. He's calling himself a god, the god king. This is great, and we see more. He says genuflect peasant is funny. Basically, most of the player base will just be laughing at genuflect peasant. They won't be thinking about this other stuff. The game moves too quick, though. You can't really think of all of it in the moment. You can't enjoy it. You have to stop and do these long-ass discussions afterwards just to try and figure out what's going on, because it moves too quick. No one's brain is fast enough to unpick all of this in one go, I think, instantly. I don't think. Or maybe I'm just increasingly stupid over the years, and I think everyone else is as stupid as I'm getting. Don't stray too far, it's easy to get lost. Okay, and then that's it. And she's just been saying that over and over and over again. So there you go, that's everything I have to say. Looking at chat. Are you bothered by how every NPC in Guild Wars 2 pronounces the name as Balthazar? I am, actually, but I think that's just the American pronunciation, and we're playing an American product, so I can only complain to a certain extent. I just need to see, do Sylvari say Balthazar? That would annoy me more than anything else. If Sylvari say Balthazar, because that's just like, no, come on. If they're a Sylvari and they're supposed to sound British, they would say Balthazar. Surely. All right. So let's go. Hello, Nana.
Who is the judge?
He is a loyal servant of Gwent, charged with sending all the spirits who come through here to their appointed place.
But I don't know who I am.
I'll wait here until
I don't know where I should be.
That's why you must see him.
Okay, before we do that, by the way, I love that the game has the dialogue timing perfectly here, that you know you can run at max speed and she'll never interrupt her own dialogue by going too fast because she's taking the lead. And also, we don't even have any skills to give like super speed or fuck it up somehow, so that's good. Atwan over here. Watch your back, he says. What? Grenth is gone, but the creatures aren't. I don't see any minions running around, just ghosts. Something worse hunts us now. Something worse? A beast. Beware the beast. Beast? A beast. Oh, I'm so scared right now. I'm so scared. Okay, so yeah, we get that guy. And I'll try to speak to as many of these NPCs as possible. I don't know whether we'll get them all. Hello, Wanderer. Who are you? I'm waiting for my son. Goodbye. Alright, Nana. Who's the judge? Yeah, and I mean, the fact we're in the underworld and the fact that Grant's gone...
Spirit, do not be afraid.
Like, it's crazy, because the game is just now getting people familiar with Balthazar as one of the gods. Cormier's been introduced as one of the gods. And even Grenth gets some influence here. It's like they all get a look in, except Melandra and Dwayna. Melandra and Dwayna feel like they have basically nothing to do with Path of Fire. Now, obviously they do, but, like... Is the word Dwayna even in the expansion, I wonder? Let's think. There must be something. There's that whole thing about the blue harpy we find in Joko's Haem. But you really see they have much less influence than the other gods do in the story. Oh wait, volume? What do you mean volume? What's wrong with the volume? What's wrong with the volume? Oh, yeah. Balthazar says all the gods at the end. Yeah, that doesn't really count, but okay. Anyway, so check it out. It's the judge. He's wearing various Grenth assorted stuff. You, as a player, can actually look like this. In fact, as a max-size Norn using the embiggening tonic, you could probably look really close to this. So, the judge. Now, we are in the underworld. We were here at Guild Wars 1. I don't recall an NPC called the judge in Guild Wars 1. I think he's a new machination. The Doom obviously was known as a judge, and judgment appears a lot in monk skills, in necro skills and things, but I don't really remember anything just straight up being called a judge. I wonder anywhere in Guild Wars 2 up to this point if there was anything about the judge. We obviously heard Grenth himself was the judge before. He would judge the spirits, but now that Grenth's not here, I guess this guy's taken up. So yeah. Alright, let's just listen to him.
I'm not sure why I'm here, or even who I am.
That's because most spirits find their own way to their fate when they die. But those whose deaths are too traumatic often forget who they were, or how they perished.
These spirits, like you and me, end up here, in the domain of the lost.
I can't be here.
You will reach your rightful place in time. First, you must recover your name, to know who you were and how you lived. Then, you must learn your purpose, to understand the choices you made, and why you lived as you did. Once you know your name and purpose, only then can I determine your final destination.
But how do I do that?
Nena has traveled the path you now face. She can assist you. For though they may have belonged to you in life, once your name and purpose enter this domain, they are yours no longer. And you will have to fight to reclaim your name. Now, arm yourself.
Lena. So you discovered your name. How do I reclaim mine?
I learned my name from the spirit of my old mentor, but only after besting him in a challenge of riddles. I discovered my purpose hidden in an old diary I had written as a child. I was a teacher.
Is it that simple?
It's different for everyone. The judge said you must fight to recover your name. So you clearly weren't the teacher. A soldier, perhaps?
I don't know.
Well, if you are to fight, you must first arm yourself.
With what?
Spirits must abandon their possessions before they may move on.
Okay, so we hear that it was very traumatic. I think that's an interesting insight into the commander and just how much they care about Aurene. I don't really think us dying or all on its own would be particularly traumatic for the commander. Especially, I mean, if you go for the death route through the personal story, which is you pick every single opportunity at every single place to see characters die, and you can really stack them up. I think that the commander is probably pretty much, you know, ready to go themselves. But I think it's the point that Aurene, you know, that was why it's so traumatic. I think that's kind of cool. I've been wikiing during this conversation because I remember very clearly there is some Guild Wars 1 lore that talks about spirits, ghosts, undead. And I can't find exactly where it is, but there's an excerpt. It might be in association with one of the articles of the Myths or something. It's probably in the manuscript somewhere. But it talks about how people can die and for one reason or another, I think it's because they have lost purpose or something, it's hatred or something, they can die but not go to the underworld, and they just stick about, and that's how you just get random ghosts and undead in swamps and stuff. Which is kind of interesting to think that Path of Fire chooses to send us to the underworld when we die and says traumatic deaths come to the domain of the lost, and they introduce this, and that's all awesome. I really like all of that. But I wonder whether that really gels with the original 2005 lore that kind of suggested people in that situation would just become ghosts on Tyria. You know, especially when you look at Cantha and the idea the envoys shepherd those dead and help them all get into the River of Souls, help them get to the underworld and all of that. If you think about that, it's kind of like, why are we here? Isn't there a possibility we could have just stayed as a regular ghost? But yeah, we can't. This was obviously the cooler thing to do. It just might not gel perfectly with the prior world building. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, so yeah, we were clearly a fighter, and we have to search for weapons now. Now, if I remember the flow of this instance, we have a cave we could go to. The weapons aren't in the cave, are they? I mean, I'm actually going to be lost here because I can't exactly remember. I think we did a stream recently-ish where we were here and we got lost for a really long time. It's not in here. Yeah, well, the envoys never really seemed to active in Cantha very much, but there were also not many regular undead in Cantha. Cantha only had an undead problem when the Afflicted became a problem because of a rogue envoy. I think that's what's so beautiful about Cantha, that they really did seem to have an undead under control and things were sorted there. They had it ingrained in their society through ritualists and the way that that worked, and it was just all quite clean and immaculate, and then Shiro came along and fucked it all up. But after Shiro was done, presumably in the next 250 years, it should be nice and clean and happy there again. I don't know. That's always been my interpretation, that the envoys are actually pretty good, and Tyria could do with some envoys of its own. And the Oracle, and an Oracle of the Mists of their own. Cantha is such a fascinating place, and the kind of magic that's
Look
there.
around the area, and perhaps you will find something useful.
The Black Widow spiders seen here are apparently references some Guild Wars 1 trivia. Are there Black Widow spiders here? Well, Black Widow was an underworld spider from the original game. You could only get it in the underworld, so it was like one of the last ranger pets. It was like an elite special pet. So the idea that there'd be Black Widows here, that would be a nod to finding them in Guild Wars 1 here as well. Obviously in Guild Wars 2, they're from the Hall of Monuments. Mum, Dad, is that you? This is so sad, man. Oh, here we go. Supplies. Why is there armor repair down here?
Oh, I can't fight with any of this.
There's armor repair down here because the developers are in what I like to call not shitting or getting off the pot. So they seem to they have to do the busy work as though armor repair is still a mechanic in the game, even though for all intents and purposes it's kind of not. So this is here literally for the crazy, ridiculous fringe scenario that someone breaks all their armor wiping on a boss upcoming and they need to repair it. I mean, I call that crazy fringe, but apparently people really sucked at this boss, so I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe my perspective's all off. But that's why there's an armor repair anvil down here, because we will actually be fighting, and you might actually need to use it.
Oh, I can't fight with any of this. I should be able to fight with this.
And so look, we get our weapon.
The spirit looks just like me.
We should follow.
So we get our weapon and we get our skill bar back. But look, our health is blue, like grayed out. This is so cool. It's so cool. Oh, man. Did anybody start working on UMod, by the way? Please. Hello, anyone out there? Should I make a video on Wood Potatoes 2, just telling people the situation with that? Anyway, yeah, so we're not live, so we don't get a nice red, fleshy health bar. But we do get this one. And yeah, we see a version of ourselves run off. So, and now this guy's got a name here as well, by the way. Brap. What is this junk? There has to be something useful. Useful? I don't know. My hands are shaking. None of this makes sense. Why am I drawn to this? What does it mean? Please, you have to help me. You have to help yourself. I love the idea, by the way, that Nena or Brap or one of these characters here could somehow be integral to this. Like, what if in life Brap did like some like insane thing and we just don't know it yet? But when Cogs of War comes around, we're going to learn about an Asura that did some research that, like, you know, reverse engineered X, Y, or Z, and, you know, basically what I'm saying is it would be very cool if one of these ended up as a pivotal character in a future plot point that you realize later, oh my god, you saw him in the Domain of the Lost after he died and he did all this stuff. Wouldn't that be awesome? Like, imagine we visit the Battle Isles and find the ruins of a ton of Asura that were there, and Brap was one of them or something, I don't know, that we're investigating. Ignoring the fact tons of players will eventually have it, wouldn't it be cool to have that dead effect as a legendary trinket? Yes, ignoring the fact that tons of players have it. Here's what would be even cooler. You look like this with your weapons drawn, but when you sheath your weapons, it goes away. That would be really cool. That would probably be, I'm just going to say, ArenaNet, when you do legendary amulets, that's the kind of thing you do with a legendary amulet, I think, maybe. I don't know. Maybe. I still think that they should do friggin' legendary mount things for legendary footsteps on your mounts as they wander around and stuff. They should have itemized the system, guys. Mount saddles and stuff. Think about how much endgame you could have hooked into that meaningful grind and reasons for people to keep playing. Retention would have been way higher. All right, let's go down here. As a set of legendary armor, I think this would have been really lazy. Sorry, we helped that guy somehow. I don't know how. Hello. So tired, I can't hear you. So we get a doppelganger fight. Devastating melee attacks. except he seems to be a thief using dagger offhand. He's using... Does he have initiative, do you think? Why does the warrior do this? Does he ever run out of initiative? I guess they don't have initiative, right? Oh my god, that's crazy. So let's knock him down.
Still don't remember.
Then more than one must have claimed your name, which means it must be a prestigious one. Quick, find another shadow.
Okay, that guy ended up as an Asura. I yield, take it as yours. Why did you steal my name? I don't know. Where are we? Why am I trapped here? I can't remember anything. Please, you have to help me. I feel like I'm missing a lot of cool detail in this. There's probably some real-world mythology or something that's being alluded to here. It's beautiful, though. I love how just traumatic and scared and sad everyone seems. And all the hidden spirits and stuff. I really do think this is some of the best, like...
Still nothing.
Keep looking. If you don't reclaim your name quickly, you could lose it forever.
This is some of the best, like, moment-to-moment, small-scale, like, random NPC interactions you get, I think. This is another guy, also apparently devastating melee attacks.
I remember now. My life was filled with conflict, victory, and loss. I was a leader, a commander.
I could tell. You wielded that weapon like a true fighter.
But I don't know why I fought, what I strove for, or against.
Next is your purpose. What drove you forward and ultimately led to your death? The answer is here, somewhere in the domain of the lost. You just have to find it.
But how will I know it? Where will I find it?
If you truly desire it, your purpose will find you.
Oh, Costage just had a great comment that is kind of horrifying in retrospect, but if you think about it now, most of the allies we had, and the enemies too, but the allies, anyone you ever loved, like Tybalt and stuff, when they die throughout the story, really, according to the lore, they've probably been eaten by Doom. Their souls were eaten and consumed by him in the Hall of Chains. That's kind of amazing. Hall of Chains should have, like, alluded to that, actually. Okay. He doesn't know why he stole our name. So Naina says that. Please don't hurt me anymore. Here, take this. Your name's out there. Keep looking. So tired. I can't help you. By the way, this is a really important NPC because even without being a Sylvari player character, this is a Sylvari in the Mists. Okay? So, yeah. They come to the afterlives just like the other living flesh and blood creatures, despite their fairly unique origins. So this room over here, were we supposed to come in here to fight before, but we just didn't? Yeah, sorry about the spoilers. Tybalt dies. That actually, someone genuinely could have been spoiled there because because of Bless Online Refugees. They might have just joined the Order of Whispers and were like, oh, this is all right. And now I'm just like saying that. Does that mean destroyers also go to the mist? Well, then we get into discussions of how similar they are to dragon minions and things, right? And the origins of the pale tree and blah, blah, blah.
I'd start with the bird.
There's our prey. Go on, Hunter. Show us what you can do.
All right, so I'm not going to go into some massive rant about this. We don't need to. But basically, the game does an interesting thing here where it tries to remind us of our entire journey. There's probably some catharsis you get out of this. You know, 5 years of storytelling. It is cool to hear Air's voice again. It is cool. I do respect this as a component of Path of Fire because I do, like I said in Kesho, I do think that a lot of what Path of Fire has to do is just make it very clear what the fuck the story is, right? To all the really casually interested people, to really line everything up and be clear about where we are and where we've come from and what's going on. So, like, whether this should be at the start of Path of Fire, like, so basically, if you're a player who skipped the core story, you missed Season 1, you missed Season 2, but you played Heart of Thorns, you skipped Season 3, and now you're here, you're going to have a really loose understanding of the plot. But if maybe you're getting into it now in Path of Fire, well, they've got this instance for you to try and get you up to speed, yeah? It's kind of like a clip show in the middle of a, you know, semi-continuity based sitcom or something in the middle of the season 3 or something. Do you get what I mean? So I do agree with it as a component, and why not do it here in the Domain of Lost? Why not? The idea of following the bird, I don't know. It's pretty. It's a cool. It's all delivered immaculately. I can't complain at that.
My time as a hero has come and gone. You're the hero that Holbrecht needs now.
Did she really say that to us? That's obscene, because we just completely abandoned Holbrecht. You would think they wouldn't want to remind us of that fact in Path of Fire, but I guess they did. Oh wait, that's a lost spirit. Where's the next bird? I think I messed up. Were you a bird? No. I messed up. Oh, there it is. It's over here. Hello.
When Zaitan rose from slumber, the dragon found a long-dead nation and claimed it.
If I want any update to Guild Wars right now, it's that I can be first person and close to the NPC and the text box not disappear. I really want that by the time I get to Heart of Thorns and stuff for the LP. I really want it.
The soul of Tyria mourned as her children were cut down by the beast. The land wept, and the world shuddered.
Oh yeah, we got our mini-map back now, because we're not lost. When we got our name, we got our mini back. And apparently it pings on it. Okay, so that's good. The next bird is over there.
In my short life, you've taught me the most important lesson. Friends will go through anything for each other. That's why I have to do this.
Hey, it's Blightcast. We just did that on the LP. Boom. And now we die. Rip. There you go. Oh, it went behind us. Sneaky, sneaky. Almost missed that.
Our victory at Fort Trinity will show the world that we can strike against the dragons.
Yes, yeah, that's a very good point. They do seem to, the more I'm playing Sylvari stuff as well, I feel it more. The idea that Tyria has its own entity, you know, it's represented in the Eternal Alchemy as its own orb. Costage says here, the pale tree here calling the soul of Tyria. The Druids mentioned the Maguma was kind of an entity unrelated to Morgemoth. White Mantle were calling Tyria a goddess. Actually, weren't they calling Kryta a goddess? I thought it was that they were calling Kryta they personified Kryta itself in a really weird, like very literal way. It was really strange.
Intruders, you trespass on the dragon's land, and you will serve Zaitan.
This here, that eye, that's not any generic eye. That is King Razor. That's the eye of Zaitan, the final boss Zaitan. The final eye right before the Zaitan fight at the end of the personal story itself. That's King Razor, who we just saw again in episode 6.
We can assault Ara. We can destroy Zaitan before the dragon's infection claims us all.
Oh, we can actually fight them as well. Oh, awesome. Any excuse to do just more ridiculous damage from just pressing a single button, I'll take it. Yeah, that's a definite hint to Guild Wars 1. Definite.
We've driven him out of the sky!
So here, what I adore, and I know this will have happened for a fact, or well, I don't know, but let's be real. They put Blightglassed in this instance, okay? I am so confident that at some point the devs will have experimented with putting Zaitan's model in here. Surely they would have. I mean, if anything, just that idea of getting to see Zaitan again in the Path of Fire in the Underworld, that alone is like such a mind-blowingly awesome thing that I can imagine them coming up with that in the writer's room. That could have even spun off this entire start of the story on its own. For whatever reason, though, I guess engine-wise, mechanically, they didn't do it in the end. You don't get to see Zaitan in this instance. It didn't work out. But I love the thought that they probably tried. What do you mean Zaitan is in this instance? Is he actually in this instance? Oh, he is in this instance. Really? Well, that shows my memory. That shows how awesome it actually is in that I forgot. I keep missing him.
We have succeeded, but only by coming together to fight a greater foe. You've shown the way.
You have my gratitude, Commander, for all you've done.
Oh, I had to look more up. Man, I have to remember that from when we play Path of Fire on the actual series. That would be so shit if I missed that there. Is it actually in the instance? I have no memory of him being in the instance. Does that mean I've just missed it all the time? Does that just mean I just have always missed a really cool thing? Damn. I forgot my role plays on point. Yeah, that's really good. Damn. Well, kudos to them then. They got it in there. Perfect.
Tonight, I saw it. I stared into the abyss, and it stared back at me. So much power. I don't know what's real and what isn't anymore.
So that's Scarlet. I doubt they got Tara Strong back into the studio just to do that. But seeing Scarlet is brilliant as well. Like, it's good. As I said, I think as a component of the game, this is awesome. Seeing Kiara there, remembering all of that. Doing it all genuinely in order. It's also, there's so much that, I mean, every little word that the devs give us on this one is great, in my opinion, because it really sets at home what they want you to be thinking about, what they want you to believe and think and feel. By the way, this is a dead Ache with, like, some hint of, like, his blood, fiery blood here. I think this is a really cool thing that they've actually put on the ground here. He looks like he's ripped up. Is he gonna... No, and these don't become the enemy, do they? It's really sinister, actually.
It's gone. All gone. And here, at the center, is alone me. Aren't you even curious about why I did it? All this chaos and destruction?
So you get the marionette here. What a great excuse to just do all these old assets and things. And I like how, by the way, in this instance, they're perfectly happy to do the Season 1 stuff and treat it parallel on par as no less important, as no more important than the rest of the game, even though Season 1 isn't playable, and the vast majority of players are going to scratch their head at this at the moment. They did that with Season 1 there, and I think that that's telling that eventually they do want Season 1 back in the game. Because when that jigsaw puzzle is re-added, it's all cohesive and fine and normal. If they treated it different in this instance, owing to the fact Living World Season 1 wasn't there, I think it would have all fallen apart when one day they did put Season 1 there, or it would have been a signal that they weren't thinking of it, or do you get what I mean? So I really like that it's just, you know, it's in order as the story should be, and that's it.
Listen! Her shield drops when she attacks. Make it count. End this. Now!
So this is where those two lesed it up a little bit. And I was watching one of the videos actually of the Breachmaker fight. There's so much dialogue there at the end where you're antagonizing. Casimir is so badass in that instance. Casimir's like creating all these clones of herself and teleporting between them, and Scarlet's trying to throw bombs to blow her up. She's throwing them in all these directions and Casimir's just moving around. And she taunts her and Casimir taunts Scarlet. And Casimir taunts her by calling her Kiara. And Scarlet's like, that's not my name, don't call me that. And then Casimir just goes like psycho. And she's like, Kiara. It's actually really good. Casimir's like pretty cool in that instance. She's genuinely vicious. And I want to see Casimir be like that again. We haven't seen that at all. Not in Path of Fire. She's so cool.
You fools! You think my death saves you? Too late.
Shadow of the Dragon. Mouth of Morgemoth. Crying. Roaring as she dies and he awakes. It is good. I mean, and I don't say that lightly. It's very hard for the game to make me think that Casimir is a badass. But she genuinely, when I use the word vicious there, she really is. It's very cool. I like seeing her so aggressive. It's cool. And they haven't done it anywhere near as well since.
I can no longer protect. You must understand its importance to Tyria's future.
See, look. This is what I meant. Everything they show.
The legends were true. There is a dragon egg.
And Keith runs off with it. Everything they show is like important for and they're not scared to show the Master of Peace with the egg. And that feels important to me. Like the idea that you remember the mystery who gave him the egg? Well, it wasn't Vlast in the end, was it? And that hasn't been answered. And here in the recap, they remind you the Master of Peace had the egg. And they even have in the dialogue, he's had it for a long time. So I think it's okay to still ask that question, who gave him the egg? I think it's Path of Fire's and Season 4's duty to answer it, but yeah.
You're not leaving until you tell me the truth. Fowlin.
This isn't necessary.
We come from the jungle, dragon. We belong to it. We are meant to serve it.
There's Win. That's the Flashback, Season 2. Oh, thanks so much, Dusty. That's really, really cool of you, dude. 5 months in a row. Thank you. To be continued 40 minutes ago as well. And Rabas before that. We haven't really had much activity there, but thank you very much today to any of you who have subbed. Hope you're enjoying yourselves, and I really appreciate it.
With everything we had to deal with here, the Pact fleet may have already launched.
Join the Spud Club if you got.
We just had another one. Well, thank you to Verona 73. Thank you. 25 months in a row, dude. Thank you. I guess that was a little reminder there, but thanks very much, guys. Prime or not Prime, it's badass of you. Wow, that was so short and sweet what they said there. The Pact fleet launches. Where's the birdie now? Should be able to see it from my location. Here it is. Yeah.
You're a welcome sight, Commander. The situation's grim. Mordermoth tore the fleet apart. The Pact is in ruins.
It must have been quite the job for the devs to just really boil down the whole game. I wonder if it's the writers did that as an exercise for themselves as well, to just take stock, step back, boil down the whole game, figure out what the key moments and points are that they want to all be on the same page about and the community to be on the same page about. And after they did that exercise for themselves, they were like, yeah, let's just blatantly show it in game as well. And they distilled it to this.
Neither should you.
Agent Gunner, and so those two are the start of Heart of Thorns. That's where you get to make the choice of how racist you want to be, basically, which we thought was going to be a bigger thing, the moral choices you could make in Heart of Thorns, and wasn't really a function of any of the story going forward. But I remember speculating about that pre-HOT.
Mother, look out! No!
Foul lane, crippling air to be destroyed by a Vine Tooth as Bram watches on.
Its offspring has chosen you. Channel this gift to get the egg to safety. Go. Confront Mordermoth. No matter how that mission ends, know that you have restored hope to Tarir and to the world.
That's about where the Heart of Thorns story completely takes a nosedive, and there's nothing really substantive after it. But here's their recaps. Yeah, they go straight to Traherne at the end.
You must kill me, Commander, before that seed grows, before Mordermoth reclaims what it has lost.
That pretty much sums up HOT. That sounded like a cat. Did that not just sound like a cat? Yeah, Traherne does look huge in that thing. Maybe he's engorged. And now we're at the last bits before POF now.
Our creator now lies vanquished. Where does that leave the Sylvari? What is our place in this new world we've created?
Great question from Keith that the game's never really taken the time to really talk about. I mean, really, the everything to do with the Nightmare Court and stuff is... Wait. Have the Nightmare Court featured ever since HOT ended? In any current event, in any episode, in any part of the expansion? They haven't, have they? The whole Duchess Chrysanthia, all of that. It's just, it's all completely abandoned. That's so boggling for my brain at the moment to really identify and realize, given the Sylvari LP right now and how much Nightmare Court stuff there is. They put in so much world building and work with all of that. And to see the send-off it got in HOT, it's one of the big crimes, really. That's crazy. So they're obviously scared to touch it because they know that they can't until they do it right. Not a single one of Season 3. Let's see. Bloodstone Fen, not really. The Fire Island Chain, first time, not really anything. Bit of Frost Frontier, not really anything. Lake Doric, not really anything. Draconis Mons, not anything. Back to Ore. We had a bit about the Sylvari Back to Ore, but it did not touch on the Nightmare Court. The Sylvari comparing themselves to the Undead's thralldom was cool back there. And could have gone Nightmare Court-ish, but didn't. We have returned to Cordicus's Manor, so returning to Twilight Arbor would be an excellent opportunity. Then Path of Fire didn't do anything. Episode 1 or 2 of Season 4 hasn't done actually nothing. There's genuinely nothing. Yeah, and no Morgem either. Except the Gallbladder thing. That's crazy. What's the best build for Warrior World vs. World? The one that you have fun on. No, it's Gunflame Berserker. Come at me, people.
Dragon's Watch. I like that. And Tyria would probably sleep more soundly with the Dragon Slayer at the helm of a new guild.
So there we go. This is Season 3. The new guild is formed.
So only you get to decide when we take down a dragon? Only you are allowed to kill them? You know what, Commander? I'm glad you didn't join Destiny's Edge. My mother wouldn't want you in there.
Bram being written like a human, and thus terribly.
I lay down my life for... what should we call it?
Her. Her name is Aureen.
I am the last Mersat. Many years ago, you knew me as Lazarus the Dire. I have returned from the brink of existence.
You know, when I was listening to that there, it made me think about, you know, how we never really did get Lazarus at all in the end. And one of the conversations we skirted around like a year ago now was the idea of, okay, so we never had Lazarus. It was Balthazar the whole time. So what about Lazarus? What if we get the real Lazarus someday? What if they actually do that? And I was going back over that in my mind as he spoke there. And it's funny because I've been looking a little bit more at the wider world of Star Trek fandom as I come into the end of Voyager now. And there's so many comics and books and things dealing with the fates of characters and extra random stuff that just the shows never got to touch on, or the movies never got to touch on. And it occurs to me that the idea of a story where we actually do get the real resurrection of the real Lazarus and stuff, that's exactly the kind of story that Star Trek delivers through its comics and extra books and things. And I don't know, like, it's too gimmicky and silly to be mainstream, but some nerd somewhere is excited about it and writes it. That happens in Star Trek fandom all the time. And yeah, that's exactly, almost perfectly what Guild Wars would have if it was that size.
But who would pose as Lazarus?
No, it can't be.
Oh yeah, oh my god, wow, episode 6, yeah, I mean beyond that, I mean a proper arc to do with Lazarus coming back. But yes, there are the 2 seconds that you could, well pointed out, Twitch chat, good job keeping me in check here. There are the 2 seconds in episode 6 where the writers tried to throw that in our face and like have some meaning there, which has almost completely been eliminated from my mind. Thanks for that, everybody.
The dragons will die, and fire will unchain all.
I remember. Balthazar. He wants revenge on the other gods. And he's going to use Aureen to get it. have to convince the judge to send me back.
Alright. So we do that. We get a little bit more Joko as well. We're reminded that he exists. Oh, does that Lost Spirits? Oh, no, that's Nana. Okay, fine. So we can come down. I don't believe there's any full damage in here, by the way. Also, this is one of the very cool instances for co-op. If you play co-op, the assistant person is like a little sprite. It's really good the way that they handle that, I think. There's also a lot of unused terrain, it seems. What's going on here? Is this the cave where we did the original fights? Oh, snap, it is. Damn. Okay. All right, let's go back to... Funny how Mesmers are famous for levitating their greatswords, and Balthazar just does that. Are they famous for levitating their greatswords? What are you talking about? So do we think Balthazar looks badass or what? I think he looks cool. I mean, fiery gods, they do well. In some ways, he just looks like a big Nord to me, and in a lot of other ways, I was quite disappointed about his physical appearance because there were the concept art changing for him based on the cultures that followed him and stuff was all really fascinating, and then that was all just like robbed from the world building by actually showing him in game. But it's a price you have to pay.
Welcomes all, noble spirit.
If you ever want to touch on these stories,
step forward, and I will send you to your appointed place.
You must let me go back.
I see you clearly now, Commander. Balthazar killed you, but you would face him again? Balthazar has done great harm here. The magic he uses to hijack spirits shakes the foundations of the domain of the lost. But I cannot help you.
If I could only get back, if I could defeat him, it might undo the damage he's done in both our worlds.
It is too late. No life remains in your body. Unless, when Balthazar left, a fearsome beast, the Eater of Souls, rose to prey on the waning life energy of the spirits here.
That's got to be the screams I've heard in the distance.
If you were to defeat the beast and claim its power, that life energy might be strong enough to reanimate your body, allowing you to go back. But if you were to fail, the beast would consume your entirety. I could grant you no final reward or punishment. Your spirit would simply cease to be.
I'll take that risk. Now that I've rediscovered my purpose, I have to go back to finish where I started.
Then in Grenth's name, conquer the Eater of Souls and live again. Remind Balthazar that none escape judgment.
I don't actually like this conversation too much. With so much of the game being so hasty and like jam-packed, I feel like a ton of time in the script is spent just trying to establish stakes for this concocted boss fight that we know at the end of the day doesn't really mean anything. But hey, whatever. So yeah, we figure out how to get back. We're gonna fight the Eater of Souls. Yes, we fight the Eater of Souls again in the Hall of Chains later. This is suggesting what might be going on in the greater underworld as we learn a lot more about in Wing 5, so it's nice to see like that connection there. I love the line where he says, I could restore both our worlds. Like, there's something about when Natalie says that it just really solidifies it for me, and I feel like I'm in another world right now, the underworld, another place entirely. I don't know, it's just really, I like that line. For some reason, that's the one that gets me and makes me feel like, shit, yeah, wow. We're somewhere far away. This is cool. You know, there's a whole world here. It's not just a little room we're in. We're in a world far away. I like that. And yeah, so then the judge leaves. I like the judge as a character. He's one of those ones that I sort of wish I could pull his ear on more information, but I get why we don't. And yeah, no, we now have the boss fight. Don't we have to lure it out or whatever? No, we just walk over to it, right? Aren't people scared? Don't the spirits nearby have dialogue, maybe? Oh. Sorry, that was my Windows. It keeps telling me about disk space, but I have plenty. It's the new Windows update. I don't know what it is. Hello, Norn. Are you looking for your purpose too? My son is my pride and joy. It all went black when it happened. I don't know where he is. Is he still alive or is he lost and afraid? I'm frightened for him. Your sacrifice was noble. Do they all get updated now that I know who I am? I don't know. Anyway, so here's the boss. I had no memories of anything significant about this boss whatsoever when I played this for the first time. But apparently there was an internet uproar because people found it impossible to beat him. That's just poor tutorialization and Corteria and all that coming back to bite the game as ever. The dev's only response to that was to nerf it to the ground now, as far as I understand. So I don't know how bad he really was. I don't know how bad he is now. But I know that there was a big nerf. And it's one of those awesome moments where I, as an active Guild Wars 2 nerd, can act smug and superior to everyone else by talking about how easy I found it and how you must be just dumb and intellectually inferior for not having done as well as me. So, yeah. You guys are all mugs. Okay, so he sucks our health. That did a lot of damage. Can I full counter that? Looks like it. Do we have to run away? Like, I don't actually get it. That was a bit scary. Weaken souls to consume them, steals boons. Do I have to proc blocks? Block that. God. Well, Bull's charge saved me there because of evade frames. I'm going to die, aren't I? I'm going to die. Full counter in case he's got something ranged. I don't know if he does. Weaken souls, then steals boons. Is he melee punish? Is that why I never knew about his mechanics before? Because it doesn't feel too nerfed. Is there something I'm meant to do? I mean, I will kill him just by throwing axes. It'll take a while, but... Bulls charge away again. Let's watch what happens. So he does that, and then he does that. Okay, so it looks like he's safe to fight until he does that first AoE, which I don't want to full counter. I should just run away from. Let's verify that. So auto him. By the way, also, Zaitan model and looking... So there you go. He did that. So now we move away. Okay, so it's just a simple tell. I guess I'm getting thrown because I'm trying to, like, eat his attacks to counter them or whatever when really the game wants me to run away from him. Another attack. Is he going to do it? He did. Good. Oh. Running away. Okay. No. Did he have a very minor break bar there as well? Oh, he feared me. Well, that's a cool sound effect he had on that. First one, first two. Big performance. This should kill him. Yeah, he's cool. I like the way that they put new mechanics onto an old enemy with old animations.
This certainly is unusual, Commander. But since Joko's arrival, nothing here has been the same.
It's clear he doesn't belong here. He's not a spirit, but he's not strictly alive either.
That's the problem. Joko can't be judged here, because he's not truly dead. What's worse, the magics Balthazar used to contain him are beyond the judge's power to break. They exist at Balthazar's will. This is as far as I go. I must face judgment and receive my final reward.
What happens if we follow Nena? I like this idea that she's like our friend in the mists for this adventure and we bond with her, but then that's it, you know? Let's see what actually happens. Does she go to the judge and actually communicate? And yeah, then we deal with Joko. And obviously we have to keep something very important in mind here, and that is that Joko is only held here because of Balthazar's powers. So it's very clear that if our job is to defeat Balthazar, then Joko's going to get released at that point. And I feel like my player character is a bit stupid at this point, because that is very obvious that that's going to happen. So build a bridge, you know?
Step forward, wandering spirit. Why have you avoided judgment?
I've been afraid. I think I've lived a good life, but I could have done more.
I see you clearly now, Nena. You worshipped Cormier and were a teacher.
I had to hide my worship. I would not teach Joko's propaganda, so I fled. I was killed by Balthazar's army.
You did what you could with what you had. You may go now. Cormier's library awaits.
Every book ever written can be found and read there. A new world awaits you. Go now, with Grinth's blessing.
Thank you. Praise to Cormir and to Grinth.
That's a really cool story there. So Naina goes there. Do we see her in the Griffin quest later? I wonder if we do. Maybe we do. And so boom, she's gone. I would just like to point out, by the way, how privileged you guys are watching this stream. Because if you think about it, her afterlife, her ultimate heaven, is going to a repository of information with, you know, almost everything ever written. Well, bitches, you're on the internet right now. You've got this thing called Wikipedia. You kind of have at least a reasonable slice of that. Not everything ever written, obviously. Yeah, you got a pretty good taste of that, and you didn't even have to die for it. So there you go. Anyway, all right, Naina's down, and now we deal with Joko. I love how we start hearing about Joko's propaganda early as well. That's going to become, like, I love the way they start feeding this stuff through, you know. This is our first introduction for it. It's going to become very prominent later. It's also really sad that she was fleeing Joko and then killed by Balthazar, just caught between a rock and a hard place. That's what friggin' Alona is in, you know, contemporary Tyria. Wikipedia equals Cormier's library. Now, I'll tell you what, horrible histories, Cormier's library.
I knew you'd be back, but I bear no grudges, harbor no ill will. Release me now, and I will still honor the deal you foolishly rejected.
Your help is worthless. I found my own way back, and I'm off to succeed where you failed, by defeating Balthazar.
Good for you. Such pluck and self-delusion. Off you go, then. Of course, you are forgetting one crucial detail. Balthazar has an army. Do you have an army, little one? Well, I do. An army to rival that of the disgraced god.
I bet there's a cut line of dialogue there.
We both know you don't stand a chance without my awakened soldiers.
You may be right about that. I do need your army, but I don't need you.
What? No. My awakened are loyal to me. They'll never obey anyone but their beloved god king.
Really? Because in your absence, your army obeys the Morden Crescent. I've seen it, and I can use it.
I warn you, do not leave me here. By royal decree, I forbid it.
Sorry, Your Majesty, but from what I've seen, your kingdom is better off without you.
So again, a ton of minutiae and BS to get into here. I really like this, though. Number one, the Morden Crescent run the army. I've seen it. To me, this is sort of a punishment from the early part of the story. I don't feel like the earlier stuff where we were introduced to the Morden Crescent to do with Amnoon was enough, because that isn't solid enough in my mind that was what was going on. I wish we'd had more exposure to this side of things so that this would make more sense here, why we'd be so confident. But I love what they do with the writing here in so many ways. Number one, they throw us headfirst into a story about winning the allegiances of the Awakened, which is what makes the Awakened interesting. Remember, they're undead, but they're not like Risen. They're not like other undead we see. They're not thralls. They have loyalty and ambition and personality. That's what's cool about the Awakened. That was what was always significant about them. In episode 6, the game tried very hard to remind us of that fact, to honor what they were like in Nightfall 10 years ago. And so the devs dive headfirst into that in Path of Fire. They decide that one of the coolest things to do with the Path of Fire story is to, win the allegiance of Joko's guys from under him. Kind of the reverse of what happens in Guild Wars 1, where we help unify them under Joko. So this is, I really like that they made this decision, and however much or little that's emphasized, it's really cool. So then the other thing I love here too is this is it, really, the deal with the devil. That's what Joko's all about. In Guild Wars 1, we did the deal with the devil. Do we do the deal with the devil in Guild Wars 2? It's what we're all wondering about. It's what I was most excited about with Palawa Joko, the idea of repeating history and how he would coax us into doing this. And they subvert my expectations here, and I love it when they do this well. they have our character just saying, no, I'm not doing a deal with the devil. Fuck you. No, I'm not doing it. Piss off. I love that. That's so good. It wasn't what I was expecting, and it just works, you know? And we leave him here. And of course, now we're left to wonder and worry, though. You know, our commander is so confident. The other thing that this instance has done really well, I think, is it's extremely well enforced that the commander is not you, Twitch chat. You, the role player playing Guild Wars 2, are not your character. Your character has its own thoughts and feelings. Your character forgot everything about themselves a second ago and just remembered it all. So, like, this instance is done really well to make it clear that the commander is a separate character to us and is not an extension of us, necessarily. And so here, because they've just reminded us of that, all of us as players now, we will wonder if the commander is making a mistake, because it's not our mistake, because he's not us, and they've made that very clear. So has the commander made a mistake by refusing the deal with the devil? Would doing it have been a mistake? I mean, getting Palawa Joko on side, being the one to free him and bring him back to the world, that could have offered us a pretty cushy position in Vabi. That could have got us an army. That could have done several things. Yeah, we would have enabled a tyrant, but that would have been the course of least resistance. You know, everything would have changed at this moment if we went a different direction with this deal. But instead, we've made an enemy of him. And we're allowed to wonder if the commander made a mistake by making an enemy of him. And it's fantastic. Truly fantastic. I love it. I love everything they did with Cormier here. And we're so just smug about him as well. So yeah, we move on up. I just think this would have been a little bit stronger if the Amnoon stuff had been longer and more fleshed out earlier in POF. Yeah, we could have been in his harem. We could have even been offered use of his harem. Think about that. Everything would have been different. You know, there's these various things. It's like, if we could go back in time and change the timeline, this would be a cool moment to go back in time. Go back in time and change our decision here. In like 5 years, when Cogs of War's out, Cantha's out, everything's out, right? And it's all, we're in oblivion. We're in the darkness of the world. It would be amazing if we changed the history and we come back to this moment and we just accept Joko. We just accept. We just say fine, and we have him as an ally, and that could change everything. Episode 1 would be different, episode 2 would be different, it all would be different. The scene at the Hanging Gardens would be different. Caricatoric might not get turbocharged.
Come back here, pathetic mortal. This is your last chance. I will return to reclaim my throne. And I will have my revenge on those who put me here, who left me here, and who dare take advantage of my absence. Torture. Oh, yes. I have plotted it out. I will just laugh as their wretched pleas for a longer life turn to desperate cries for a faster death.
It is amazing, and just this is the cherry on top. Him angry, he's funniest and best when he's angry. So they get the good mix of funny, intimidating, cool villain. I like it. It's a good reintroduction. I think and this is pretty much all we get of Joko in the expansion itself, by the way. The rest is living world, and so we know what we think about that so far. Episode 3 is due, and we'll see how that continues. Very exciting. But yeah, we haven't had enough interaction with Joko just yet for me to really say too much more than him. But this is great, and yeah, the idea of a what if series of comics, if we actually did the deal with him, that would be kind of fantastic. But yeah, all right, so then we leave. We're going back home, guys.
Get back.
Commander!
Is that?
Wait, what's going on there? You all said the commander was dead.
I was dead, Timey. But now I'm back.
Yeah, but that's not how dead works.
She makes a good point. We all checked, Commander, and you were very much no longer with us.
And he's still not. This is a trick.
Kaz, is this one of yours?
It's not an illusion.
Not me. I'm alive. I'm still the commander.
Poke him! If he's squishy, he's a mummy. If he's leathery, he's awakened. And if he's nothing, he's a ghost.
We're not going to poke the commander, Timey.
Listen. Balthazar has Aurene.
We know. He was taking her south toward Kralkatork when we arrived. We tried to stop him, but there were too many forged.
And I hate being the bearer of bad news, but it appears that Balthazar has managed to build up quite a formidable army of forged.
He does seem to make them faster than we can break them.
That's why we need an army of our own. And I met someone in the Domain of the Lost who told me where I can borrow one.
Borrow an army.
Domain of the Lost?
Yay, we have a plan!
Guys, have you got anything that can change our appearances?
Yes, but nothing that can make the four of us look like an army.
It doesn't have to. It just needs to disguise us as someone else. After I secure our cover story.
Okay, I'll be standing by.
And I'll be at the casino in Amnoon. If you can come back from the dead, I want to double my wager on you.
Fine. I'll get word to you all when the time is right.
Oh, hey, Commander. Good to have you back.
Okay, so I've seen a lot of criticism of this part of the story. In that people felt that our friends didn't care enough about us being dead. I sort of get where people are coming from, but I don't feel it too much, you know? To me, it feels like this is just the evening. They just arrived on airship and just saw that we were dead, and they were telling Timey, and now we're back, you know? I feel like it's not that bad. And I feel like being nitpicky about how they found our body and all that kind of... I don't think that really matters too much. I don't know. Like, it's already a very weighty episode. Instance, I should say. So, do we really need a ton of emotional baggage weighing it down? Like, the fact is, when where the story is at, where the emotional state that they've pulled us to as we leave the Domain of the Lost is not in one of particular tragedy or loss or sadness. So then to throw all of that in afterwards, I just don't know whether that would have worked very well. And again, limited time. So I don't know. I think it's fine the way that it works. They weren't too shabby, but you can discredit if you like that part of the writing. But what you absolutely cannot discredit is how fucking amazing the instance itself is here. Look at this sunset. This is the most heavenly, perfect, gorgeous, incredible place that they could do. This is what it would feel like to come back to life, to breathe fresh air again, to see the world once more. Look at this. They couldn't have picked a better place. This was all chaotic and hellish and horrible before when Balthazar killed us here. But this is it. To feel the sun on your face. Oh, it's so amazing. Also, bringing the airship in after we died. To sort of show the difference in the time of day from when we left and when we came. It's so good. And all of it with no loading screens. When we went to the Domain of the Lost and stuff, it's just... You can't fault it. It's amazing. Shame this airship and Fidus doesn't have too much more else going on. And in Living World, they're going to just completely replace this airship anyway, right? So I don't know what they're doing. Living World scares me a bit because they're adding so many new elements again and new characters and new things. I don't know. Maybe they're all there so that they can kill off a ton of shit next expansion. I don't know, The Walking Dead style. Just introduce things to make us like them and get rid of them. And feign some stuff. But yeah, this is brilliant. I mean, I don't really have too much more to add. And that's The Departing. Now, unfortunately, with Act 3 done, we have one more Always Time for Timey, so let's do that, okay? Same spot as all the others? No, let's do the one at, there's totally one over here, isn't there? There's one at the Lonely Vigil. Let's go to the Lonely Vigil. Unfortunately, guys, this is kind of the bit in Path of Fire, like after the Egg Chamber stuff in Heart of Thorns, where it drops off a bit, and clearly they started running out, and there wasn't, the work wasn't done, or the time wasn't done. It's a bit of a shame. But the Desolation arc is extremely short. And the first thing I'll note is that as we travel south now, and our option here is to pass through the Bone Wall and enter Joko's kingdom, it feels like there may have been an entire story event and meta event, maybe even, cut from Path of Fire, dealing with assaulting the Bone Wall, because there are actually two entrances. Just like Tangled Depths left Dragon's Stand in two routes, I think that we were gonna have something similar here. So this Bone Wall is like one of the coolest pieces of the world building and stuff, but has no relevance whatsoever on any level to the story. We just skip past it. So I think the skipping stuff really happens around about now. And it's very sad to me, because the Desolation could have been a whole really other meaty, awesome chapter and chunk of the game. Just because it's got so much history to do with Abaddon and stuff. That I would have loved to have had a breather and look at that in more detail. But, you know, the entrance to the Realm of Torment didn't end up very significant. It all kind of just tapered off a bit. And we will see that in the upcoming stuff as the parts of this series continue, definitely. Is there an always time for time here? It doesn't look like it. Why attack the Bone Wall? Well, because we're seeking to infiltrate the Awakened, and none of the Awakened are really very friendly and happy around here at all. And they're supposed to be guarding and stopping people escape from Joko's kingdom. Wait, so has WP not played the story yet? You thought I was just What
Are you really
going
to make a break
What on earth makes you think I've not played the story? What tiny fragment of conversation did you just pick up on that makes you think I've never played this before? How could I possibly have said the things I've said if I've never played it before? I'm boggled. Do me this kindness and explain. Hello, Nature Death. No, I'm not offended. I'm not remotely offended. I'm just curious how someone can have that comment. This stream is pre-recorded. That's also true. It's pre-recorded. It is by the statue. Oh, was there one by the statue? Well, whatever. We've missed it, so I'm just going to go this way. Yeah, I was a big fan of Bless.
All in formation.
But
When we get moving again,
I'm sick.
How can we avoid the forge?
Crappy MMOs.
We'll have to head east.
So I'm trying out Guild Wars.
Hopefully we're far enough north to avoid the Awakened.
But at least the
Hello,
forge left
Talmoji.
us alive. Are you sure risking a run-in with
The
the
Eye of
Awakened is better?
Janthea speaks to me.
I honestly don't know. But if nothing else, Augury Rock should offer better cover than open desert.
There is such a thing as
Besides,
pre-recorded
we'll
streams
have to head
that you
through
do on Twitch,
Destiny's
though,
Gorge
isn't there?
anyway to
Isn't
get to
there,
Hand
that
Moon.
thing people do? You basically just put a VOD up and pretend it's live kind of thing. Well, not pretend, but, you know.
Taimi, this is the commander.
Taimi here. Again, sorry about Aurene surprising you like that. Cape and the Exalted did their best, but Aurene's a dragon. Their best just wasn't good enough against nigh unstoppable.
I understand. And I can't really scold anyone for being overwhelmed. There's been a lot of that going around lately. But it was literally the worst case scenario. Now Balthazar has Aurene. As far as we know, she's still alive. For now. And whatever plan he has to use her against Krakatorrik is officially underway.
Leave it to the god of war to be all focused and military. Can you stop him? Can I help?
Well, we're going to try, but the clock's ticking. Unless you can get here as fast as Aurene did, you'll have to leave it to us.
Glitch! Okay, listen, I'll be standing by and offering moral, well, intellectual support as needed. Hang in there. If anyone can turn this around without my direct participation, it's the rest of Dragon's Watch.
All right, so there you go. I think Taimi's all right there. The direction of the dialogue seems a bit off. Oh, sorry that Aurene's gone. My bad, whoopsie. Sorry, Mr. Art, meaning though it didn't quite do it. Oh well, whoopsie. It's like, come on, she's way too blasé about that. We're supposed to be devastated by this. Didn't they just say that this was like the most traumatic thing we've ever experienced? Like, we're not even a regular thing to die. But all right, so yeah, Aurene's been caught. Another thing maybe that the departing doesn't do perfectly is show Balthazar grabbing and moving off with Aurene. But listening to Always Time for Taimi makes that very, very clear. So, because it's kind of like they have to tell us about it instead of we get to see it. I'm not even sure I would try that you bide Bless. No, I never tried Bless. You should switch your stream from Guild Wars 1 LP whilst AFK from your channel. Interesting thing, when I started streaming, I used to do pre-shows where I would do Guild Wars 1 episodes in the start. That's what I started with my streams. What do I think Kate's doing at this point in the story? Do I think she'll come back to the story at any point in time? She will definitely come back. We've heard very clearly what she's been doing up until just a second ago. She was watching over Aurene. Most of the time, it sounds like she was doing more to watch over Aurene than Taimi was. And I think that's really important as well, to make you know, Keith has to have a lot to do with Aurene to make any of the Living World Season 2 and Heart of Thorn stuff retroactively feel like good storytelling. Keith has to have a lot to do with Aurene. I'm sure we'll see lots more of Keith. I don't think it's just timey shtick there. I think that it's more the voice actress didn't have the context properly for the emotional level she should have been at for that. Oh, I don't know. From Timey's perspective, she hasn't been attacked or anything. She's just seen Aurene fly off. So
I love watching this.
I don't know. Maybe it's not so bad. Maybe that's
so
maybe that's me
graceful
being
and majestic, gliding around.
Yeah, Zodja, if anything, from original Destiny's Edge, they're all really interesting to me. Do you know what I would actually be fascinated by? Literally, the next expansion doesn't have Dragon's Watch at all. It's all Destiny's Edge again. I would be fascinated by that. I would love it as well. In some weird ways, in that it makes it feel like there was never a real transition between one guild to the other. I think that would be so cool. Because, like, Logan's got so much reason to be very active in the story right now. Zodja certainly has. Keith certainly has. The only one that's really around is Ritlock. And the only one that has reason to not be around is Air, which is fine. But all of them, really, come on. Especially if these whole mental shenanigans with Snaff and the idea of fusing consciousnesses with machines, and we confuse Snaff's remaining consciousness with a machine later with Kraukatoric, which is why we have these inquests around. So, I mean, Snaff could come back into the story, right? Like, and that would be so crazy and cool. You know, we basically trade Air for Snaff and get all of that. That would be, and just have them in an expansion. They come to Cantha with us. None of the other members of Dragon's Watch. Maybe one does. Maybe it's Kanak, the commander, plus Destiny's Edge. And we just do that. That would feel like weirdly kind of realistic and natural in that things just don't go how you expect, you know? I don't know. Because it does still feel quite formulaic right now, but if they swap back, it'd be like, well, there's clearly no formula. Yeah, there's a lot of techno-babbly ways that they could do this and have Snaff come back into the story. All right, so we go through the Bone Wall. I think I'm actually at the wrong exit here. Again, because this is clearly a secondary one, so I'm gonna waypoint. And this is Act 3 now, really, guys. Act 4, sorry. It's a very short one, which is really upsetting, so I'll probably pad it out with as much as we can. Let's start off with this scout.
The Bone Strand has been cut off by the war. Despite their dedication to Joko, the villagers in Purity have seen a rise in suspicious activity, and they've had to endure more scrutiny from the Awakened at the garrison. High above Purity, the Clan Marshal and his Awakened Vizier oversee the Bone Strand from the pergola. The situation is complex. Tensions are rising. Joko's standing orders were to feed the Empire and send Awakened troops through Palawa's Cut to battle the Forged, but the road south is contested.
Okay. Yumandal, thanks very much, man. I'm expecting a raise soon, so take a $5. Thanks, dude. You're expecting a raise? Congratulations. I hope it's a substantive one. Also, Scientium Memoria said Happy Sunday, WP, and gave me a $5 as well. That's really sweet of you. Thank you, guys. Gluten-free guy gave me a sub. Cheers, guys. So, yes, Order of Shadows. If we get anything close to an Order of Shadows base, really, it's going to be here. So we can do a lot of the dialogue there in the Darklands, and we can try to integrate the meta events and stuff to pad this out as much as possible. The Jackal stuff's really cool with the Marganite stuff. So we could figure things out. We've got this dialogue. We are in another map. So the Bounty Hunter armor is now done. So I've been really happy. Lots of people have been asking. So let me be extremely clear. The armor that you see right now is Shifting Sand weapons, which are Path of Fire weapons, Mordant weapons, which are Path of Fire weapons. The armor is heavy Bounty Hunter armor. It is not an outfit. It is not a gem store sold thing. It is armor. It is regular in-game rewards from Path of Fire. It's called the Bounty Hunter set. You get it from doing bounties, and this is just the heavy stuff which we had died. We are now going to, once again, move to another thing. Just regular armor, but from the most recent expansion you've probably not seen. And I think, probably...
The citizens of the Bone Strand are experiencing a rise in suspicious activity lately.
What have we seen? We've seen War Beast, we've seen Bounty Hunter, we've seen Spear Marshal. So it's going to be Elonian now. which is probably the most basic set in the game, but that's fine because this is a short arc. Okay, so Alonian, I once again open it up. You guys can choose weapons, backpack, and dyes to make this look as good as possible. Feel free to submit to me anywhere you like. We will have a good setup, and this will be our get-go. This is basically low-tier Spear Marshal stuff, right? Like, it's just Spear Marshal, but with less detail on it. So you guys can make that look as good as possible, and we will do that for the Desolation, and we will end the game in the awesome, very rare funerary stuff, which I'm quite excited about. Speaking of funerary, I'm actually going to go buy another set of at least one funerary weapon from the team of the Primeval Kings here on the stream as we move on to other stuff. Funerary will be at the end because there's more instances at the end, so if you like funerary, you should be patient so we can get more of it instead of blowing our load early. I like the Bounty Hunter light as well. I think all the Bounty Hunter looks really good. I think they, generally speaking, did awesome with the armors. I think that's true for Heart of Thorns as well. It just didn't have many. Oh, can you imagine if Cantha, or whatever the next expansion is, Cogs of War. I've got into the habit of saying Cantha instead of Cogs of War now, and I don't know why. But can you imagine if the next expansion... You know how Heart of Thorns had 4 maps? POF had 5. Can you imagine if for the next they get 6? And then that means 6 sets of armor? And that means 6 sets of weapons, and that means 6... Oh, can you imagine? Do you reckon that they've got it in them to do that? Bounty Hunter Medium is pretty lame. I don't know, man. I like the Bounty Hunter Medium. I've got that on one of my PvP characters. I think my Engie's on that. Oh, it might just be because you're Char, maybe. It's this character here, right? I still don't understand why they don't have an actual icon for this dude. Such an important vendor for the expansion, and they just got such a shit job at actually introducing it to the players. Okay, so we can afford one more thing: the mace, the pistol, the shield. Shield might be fun. Shield's big and important and interesting. We might use that for the last chapter as well, so I'll pick up the shield. So we go. May her name bring a new dawn. I'm still missing greatsword, hammer, mace, short bow, scepter, rifle, and pistol. But once I've got that, that's all of the Path of Fire ones done, except Final Sting, which is just the thing in the mountains.
Farewell.
Okay, cool. Wow, our inventory. All right, guys. So let me look at chat, Twitch now. Oh, it's done. Oh, rip. Okay, well, never mind then. I was gonna host you over to a UGO, but the UGO isn't on anymore. I guess it's finished. So that's a shame. So I'm gonna host you guys now to a totally new player, possibly a Bless Online refugee. Someone with no one watching them on Twitch right now, but looks like they may deserve some. So we will see how they feel about the game, how much they enjoy themselves. Thanks very much for coming along. A couple of you donated today, a couple of you subbed today. That's so lovely of you all. If you want to catch me again, I'll be live same time tomorrow. You can check for updates on that in our Discord. You don't need an account or anything. The more people that join, the better. The more welcome that is. And yeah, I'll also be available on YouTube a little bit later in the day with our big Sylvari playthrough, which genuinely has been really, really entertaining. And I think you guys will like this next episode. I've got a lot of editing to do for it, so it'll probably be somewhat better than most of the other episodes, if that makes sense. I want to say that without making it sound like the other episodes are bad, but you guys get what I mean. So I'm just trying to find a cool person to stream. What about this guy? Sunday Chill Stream. He's finishing maps. Let's do that. So cheers, guys. Hope you enjoyed. And let's go watch another player.
Thank you very much, Wooden, for that host. This is amazing. That is awesome. That is astounding, by far the biggest host I've ever had. Normally, I'm doing a cool kid get up, got a leather jacket and sunglasses and everything.